Yes, it's case number 112 on the calendar in the matter of Ross versus Westfield. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Mr. Ross, reading between the lines in your complaint, I gather that you and the defendant dated briefly while she was separated from her husband.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that during that time, you loaned her a television set and a telephone that had a caller ID on it. And you want those items back.
That's
what
correct.
This case is about. Ms. Westfield says that you gave her absolutely nothing during the brief time that you dated or were in a relationship, that she went back to her husband, and that she, in fact, loaned you $300 for some reason that she's going to tell me, and that you also stole a ring that belonged to her husband that she wants back.
Right, yes.
Okay, so first tell me when you met her, Mr. Ross, and how you met her.
I met Christine in late December. I met her at a gas station. She had a military uniform on, and I was in the military. I was in the United States Navy, and that kind of sparked up the conversation. So she was pumping her gas, and we was talking about the Navy, and I said, hi, how you doing? Got to talking, asked her, could I take her out to dinner? She said that would be fine. And then she gave me a pager number at that time. She said, you can't call my house because I'm still living with my husband. So she gave me the pager number to call her.
But she told you she was separated from her husband.
She said that at that time she told me that she was separated, but then she said her husband still lives at the house.
Okay. So far, is that right?
We met in early January. That was the only discrepancy, but yes.
Other than that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and at that time I would call her. She would come visit me. She came and visited me for the first time on New Year's Eve. So we spent New Year's Eve together, and at that time she spent the night at that time. She complained about her husband being mean to her, and I said, hey, you might get in trouble. So she said she's gonna stay at her sister's house. That's what she told him. She's gonna stay at her mom's house, but she was staying at my house. She was at my house at that time. During the period of the time we dated on and off, I spent the night at her house. She spent the night at my house.
So you mean ultimately her husband left the house?
Eventually he left. After about 3 weeks he had left, and then I started spending the night over there because she was scared. She was scared because he had threatened her with a gun, said that he would kill her, pointed a gun at her. So she was scared for her safety. So she said, I didn't want to go over there, Jan. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't want to go over there. But you know, and I'll be honest with you, because she said he had a gun, because he's some kind of security guard or something. And I said, hey, shh,
please.
You know, but I've been in that situation before. I've been on his side before. I've been a guy that was kind of rough towards women, but I learned my ways. I was taught better than that.
All right, let's get to the television and the cell phone.
Okay, at that time, they was going through the divorce. What had happened was he had the police come over there and take the stuff. He took a fax machine, he took a TV, and at that time, she called me. I said, how can he come get stuff? Because when I went through my divorce, I had to wait for my divorce procedure.
Okay, so took the stuff, and what did you say?
I said, I think you need to see a judge before he can take any of your stuff. But she said, I'm tired of him. I just wanted to get his stuff. He can take whatever he wants. She doesn't want to waste any more time with him. So at that time, she said her daughter had a PlayStation 2. You have to have a certain TV to play that. So I had that TV where you can plug the adapter. So I said, you can use that TV, but I'm going to need to get that back. Because she said she was going to get her income taxes or something like that and buy a whole new TV set. So at that time, I had brought the TV over. Her husband kept calling her, hanging up, threatening her on the phone. So I said, hey, use the call ID. Because I was trying to look out for her, Yana. I said, use the call ID. I said, anytime he calls, you know, you can get him on the call ID. You can mark it, show it to the police station.
So she didn't have a caller ID.
She didn't have a call ID on her phone. So I said, you can use that. But I said, I'm going to need all this back, Christine. Because, I don't know, Christine was going back and forth. She said that she loved her husband, said she liked me. She kept going back and forth, so I didn't want to...
So that's how she got the stuff.
Right.
Okay. All right, Miss Westfield, is what you're telling me Mr. Ross is suffering from some sort of psychosis? You
Yes.
believe he's suffering from a psychosis?
I do. Because ever since I had told him I didn't want to talk to him, he's made my life miserable.
I don't care if he's made your life miserable, Miss Westfield. I want to know about the television set.
I've never received a television or a TV. I know we were talking about it, but he didn't have a car, so he could never bring it over. So I never got it.
I don't think I believe that.
Well,
Because if you were going to make up a story about owing money, owing property, you wouldn't make up a story about things that are so cheap as a television and a cell phone. You would say she said she needed money for a lawyer. I gave her $1,500. She needed money to pay bills. I lent her $2,000. This story that your husband came, cleaned out the house, took TV, all sounds right to me. And he doesn't look like a psycho.
Well, Your Honor, my husband never took anything out of our house. We never went that far in our divorce for division of property.
I didn't say that you went that far in division of property, but that doesn't mean you didn't take things out of the house, Miss Westfield. You understand?
Yes, I do.
Now, you want to tell me about your counterclaim?
My counterclaim is that I gave him $300 in cash to fix his car because he said my husband had did something to a wire and made it stop. So
When was that?
This was in February.
Well, tell me about it, Miss Westfield.
So I gave him the $300.
No, tell me about the whole incident. He came to you and said...
Curtis had came to me and said that his car wasn't working when one day before it was working. So then the next day he came and said it wasn't working.
Try looking at me right here.
And he said that my husband was messing around with his car, and I didn't agree with him at that time. But his car wasn't, it wouldn't start. So I felt obligated, because things were getting all out of control, felt obligated to give him some money so his car could, he could get it fixed. So I gave him $300 in cash. He said he would pay me when he got his first unemployment check. And then one day he came over to my house and I was showing him my husband's rings. And I don't know why I showed him these rings, but I did. And he was like looking at them, and then we had a conversation, and I wanted to prove to him that I wasn't going to go back with my husband. So I had shot one ring and threw it in the garbage, and then I had went back into my room to put the other rings away. So then when I came back, we had a conversation, he left. Then the next day I noticed he had my husband's ring on.
So you took your husband's ring, you were so angry, and you threw it in the garbage?
Right, just one of them.
One of them?
Right.
After you threw the ring in the garbage, what did you do with the garbage?
Well, at that time it wasn't full, but in like a day or two, I'm sure I just threw it out.
So, Miss Westfield, it would be fair to say that you discarded that ring.
Correct.
He took it after you discarded it.
Right.
That's abandoned property, Miss Westfield. You abandoned that property. Therefore, Mr. Ross was entitled to take it. It's like if you put a sofa out on the curb for trash to take, and somebody says, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I owe her about maybe $35, and I give her that right now.
Take it out of your wallet.
It's like $30. Or did I say 35? 35.
You did say 35.
And later today,
In the morning when we woke up, we turned the TV on, but there was a big red blob in the middle.
What did Cameron tell you?
That the oldest one slammed him against the TV.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Curtis Ross says that during his affair with Christine Westfield, he loaned her the use of a television and a cordless phone. Curtis claims she refuses to give them back.
You threw his ring in the garbage. He took the ring out of the garbage. You didn't say to me, right away I went looking for the ring because I realized I made a mistake.
Well, that was my intention to do.
No. What you just told me that Miss Westfield, listen to me carefully.
Mm-hmm.
What you said was the garbage wasn't full. 2 or 3 days later, I took it and threw it away. You never even looked for the ring in the garbage. That's what you told me, right? Don't change your story now. Mm-hmm. You're not entitled to the ring back. Did she ever give you $300 to fix your car?
No, she didn't. What she did, Your Honor, she gave...
Look at me. Try looking at me. Don't you touch your papers.
I'm sorry. What she did is she gave me a Quest card. A Quest card is like a food stamp card to use to go shopping because she gets like welfare.
So what you're telling me is she never gave you $300. She gave you a Quest card.
She gave me a Quest card. At that time, she did not have a job. So she said she's been using her credit card. So I gave her $154 to put on her credit card. And, Your Honor, I owe her about maybe $35, and I give her that right now.
Take it out of your wallet.
I think it's like... You want me to give it to her?
I want you to give it to Officer Bird.
It's like $30. Or did I say 35?
You did say 35. Okay.
See for this?
Yeah,
No.
I'm gonna need a receipt because I might have to come back for that. We might have to sue her again for that.
Thank you.
Now, you have a receipt for the television set?
No, ma'am, I don't have a receipt for that.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $269. It has a remote control on it.
And the phone?
And the phone, I pay like, it's a cordless phone. I pay like $65 for that.
You have a receipt for that?
No, ma'am.
Well, you got a lot of problems without receipts, Mr. Ross.
I know. I didn't think that she would do this to me, Yana. I was trying to help her out.
Well, she did, Mr. Ross. So you're supposed to have receipts. I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $275, and I am dismissing your counterclaim, Ms. Westfield. I don't believe that you loaned him any money, and the ring that you are demanding the return or value of, I believe you discarded, and he merely took it out of the garbage. Thank you very much. This case is over.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I knew I was going to win.
I'm very upset.
Because she's been lying through this whole thing.
It was all just a big lie.
I tried to help her out, and it turned around and it bit me.
You know, he's making everything up to make me look bad.
I think she's in a terrible situation.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Camper versus Iglesias. Step forward, please.
Accountant Colleen Camper is suing her former landlords, Eloisa and Paul Iglesias, for the return of her personal belongings. The defendants are countersuing, claiming Colleen's children broke their widescreen TV.
Mrs. Camper, you and your family rented a room from the defendants. And according to your complaint, they kept your property when you moved out. You want your property back. Mr. and Mrs. Iglesias, I don't think deny the fact that they have your property. You have their property?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do.
Yes. What kind of property do you have that belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Camper?
There's some of their clothing, a computer, a couple of shelves, and pretty much it.
I have a list,
Let me see.
and this is just a generalized list.
Did you know each other before you rented this room?
No.
How did you find the room?
The neighbor across the street introduced us.
Okay, and why were you looking for a room? Had you been evicted?
We were supposed to be moving into another house that the neighbor across the street owns, and 2 days before we were going to be moving in, all of a sudden the girl that was supposed to be moving out didn't move out. So then we already had given our 30 days where we were at.
All right, she's got another story. In any event, you moved into their room. What kind of rent were you supposed to pay?
$600 a month.
Now let's get to the counterclaim. Counterclaim says that they owe you for rent because they didn't give you 30 days notice.
No, they didn't give us a notice.
Okay, fine.
Excuse me.
Where is the lease that they have that requires them to give you notice?
It was a verbal agreement.
No. You want them to give you notice, you have to give them a lease. Other than that, they're month to month, they can leave whenever they want. So you're not entitled to rent because they didn't give you 30 days notice. So let's eliminate that. Let's go to damage to the television set, because that's what really this whole case is all about. You claim that their two children damaged your 50-inch television set. I'm ready to hear evidence of that.
We went to a party. We didn't come home till about 12 o'clock at night. When we came home, her children were unattended downstairs by themselves watching our TV. And I had asked her when she moved in to please be careful with the TV because it's my husband's favorite TV. And she said, don't worry. You know, that's why we put a TV in their room. Every room upstairs has a TV.
Okay, so the children were downstairs watching television. Do you remember what they were watching?
Yes, I bought a movie, Daredevil, and they were watching the movie on DVD on our TV.
Okay, so they were watching it, and it was working.
Yes.
So?
Well, it was working, but we thought it was the video that we had purchased. There was a big red blob in the middle, and we didn't pay attention to it. We thought, okay, well, it's the DVD disc. We'll just turn it back to the store and get a new one because it's broken. In the morning when we woke up, we turned the TV on. The dot was still on there. And my husband kept switching the channels, and he says, well, there's something wrong with the TV. And then that's when my son told us what the kids had told him. And then she came down.
Just a second.
None of that's right.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Esteban.
Estefan, you weren't at home that day, is that right?
I wasn't home. I wasn't home when that happened.
Did you speak to the boys?
Yes.
Which boy did you speak to?
Cameron.
Which one is Cameron? Step up. When did you speak to Cameron?
The night when we were downstairs.
And you found that there was this dot on the television set?
Yes.
What did Cameron tell you?
Cameron told me that the oldest one slammed him against the TV.
That his brother slammed him? Is that right?
No, that is not right.
What did your older brother do to you?
We weren't playing around that day. We were sitting down and watching the TV.
Come up here. Just pay attention to me. How did the TV get broken?
I do not know.
Well, tell me what you think.
I think that there was a magnet on the TV that changed the TV color.
A magnet?
Yeah.
How did that, what kind of a magnet changed the TV color?
I don't know. I'm just saying that could have happened. What I thought happened.
So, Estefan is lying when he says that you told him that you were fooling around with the TV.
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
When they came home, what were you watching?
We were watching cartoons.
Not the video.
Not the video. When I came home, I asked her if my brother can watch Daredevil because he never seen it, and they said yes.
So who put the video in for you?
Esteban did.
Estefan put it in.
Yes.
Step down. Is that right?
Yes.
So they were watching cartoons. They weren't watching a video when you came home, correct?
Yes.
And you went over to the television to put in the video for them?
Yes. But when we came home, I looked through the windows to see who was downstairs because the light was on. I saw both of them playing, and they're.
That's not what I'm asking you, Estefan. They were watching cartoons. There was nothing wrong with the cartoon picture, right? There was nothing wrong with the cartoon picture on the TV.
I didn't look at the. I didn't look. I wasn't watching with them. I didn't even look at the TV.
Well, you should have. To give them back their property. Do you understand? And you're going to do that within 5 days. You can't keep their property. That's stealing. Do you understand?
Yes.
So you're going to get your property within 5 days. Make arrangements to pick it up. You need to go there with a policeman, or you can go there by yourself.
Okay.
Now, you can't prove that it was their children that broke your television set.
We weren't home when it happened. And
Well, maybe it just happened by itself. But we do know that your son put in a video. We do know that. Right?
Yes.
And we do know that you had the ability to look at that television set to see whether the cartoons that they were watching were being observed on a television screen that was broken or not. If you saw them downstairs watching television, and if you were concerned about it, you look and see whether or not there was any damage. The only damage that you saw was after your son put in the tape, right?
We went upstairs because we had babies. I couldn't go in and to look.
Listen, I'm not faulting anybody. I'm just saying you can't prove that it was their boys that broke your television set. It's a rental that didn't turn out well. Do you rent any rooms to anyone else?
Not anymore.
Good. That's a very good idea, because when you rent rooms to people, they're going to be around your house, and you're not going to be able to tell who breaks what, especially if you leave, and you leave the house unattended. Do you understand? All right? Not a smart thing. I'm sorry that your television set got broken. You get your stuff back. I hope you have a nice place to live. Goodbye, good luck, and have a happy life.
Yeah, this is case number 379 on the calendar in the matter of Rose versus Perez. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Who was driving the rental car? Let's see. Okay. Leave the papers.
Okay.
Mr. Rohrbar, you were driving.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Rose had rented the car.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you related to her?
Girlfriend, boyfriend.
For how long?
It's been about a year.
Why were you driving a rental car?
Because my car had broke down, and I was over in that area at the time to see my mechanic.
What was wrong with your car? Had it been in an accident?
No, ma'am.
Just broke down?
Yeah, I just got back from Alaska and drove from Seattle down to San Luis Obispo, California, and the transmission went out on it.
So why didn't you rent a car?
Oh, she's a customer.
I know this is really probably not important to the case, because your case says that the rental car that you were driving collided with this young man who was riding his bike.
Yes, ma'am.
He went into the windshield. He was injured.
Right.
And you want his mother to pay for the windshield on the rental car. That's what the lawsuit is, right?
That's right.
I just want to know. Mr. Rohrbar, we just want to know.
That's right. Okay.
Right. Okay. Now, at what time of the day or evening did your car come into contact with this young man?
It was about 4:30.
On what date?
The 10th of October.
And where were you going?
I was looking to find my mechanic.
What do you mean you were looking to find your mechanic?
Well, my mechanic, he was getting home from work, and so I was over by his house.
Had you been there before?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've been on that street before?
Yep.
What had you done prior to 4:30 that day?
Well, I already been over to the house.
What house?
To my mechanic's.
What time did you go to your mechanic's house?
Somewhere right about 4 o'clock. He was not there, so then I drove further, and then...
Drove further where?
out by Los Osos Valley Road
What did you go there for?
to spend more time waiting.
Why didn't you just sit in front of his house?
Well, I just didn't do it. I didn't wait there.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't go anywhere and have a cocktail, did you?
Oh, no. No, not at all.
Now tell me what happened as you were driving down the street at 4:30 in the afternoon, coming back to your mechanic's house after having gone someplace else to sit and wait for him, rather than wait for him in front of his house.
The defendant had come out off the sidewalk and went right into the windshield, into the car.
He was on his bicycle, right?
Oh, yeah.
And where did his bicycle hit your car?
Right in the front right corner.
Show me a picture.
Okay, if I'm driving this car here.
Don't you have a picture of the
Yes,
car?
ma'am. Right here. There's the windshield,
Oh, I got that.
and there's a little dent right here. And I had spotted a footprint on that back window. It was after it was all said and done, I had happened to spot it.
So what you're saying is that the bike hit the side of your car and his head went right into the windshield.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you wearing a helmet?
No,
Why not?
because I don't have one.
You mean your mother lets you ride a bicycle without a helmet?
No,
You took the bike without her permission?
yes,
Did you take the bike without her permission?
yes.
Whose bike was it?
My cousins.
How old is your cousin?
5 years old.
5? How old are you?
8.
You don't ride a bicycle?
Yes.
Well, my question is, where's your helmet? You let him ride a bicycle without a helmet?
He was not supposed to leave the house. And
I don't care
no,
if he wasn't supposed to leave the house. He rides a bicycle. He says he doesn't have a helmet.
He doesn't have a bicycle.
He has access to a bicycle, madam.
And
You have a young cousin that lives with him
yes, I do.
who has a bicycle.
Right.
The bicycle that went into this car. Buy him a helmet.
Well, okay.
He could have been dead.
Yeah, thanks to him.
So let me ask you this question, madam. Did you hire an attorney?
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because I did not believe that this gentleman would even.
I'm talking about hiring an attorney to sue him.
Well, first of all, I don't have the money.
You don't need money to hire an attorney. It's your belief that he hit your son and your son was injured. Were you in the hospital?
Yes.
For how many days?
1.
You start out with the premise that if a car hits a child, it's the car's fault. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
When you're in a residential neighborhood, which this was, with that cars parked along the sides of the street,
Yep.
and is it your statement that he came out from in between one of those cars?
It was right out of a driveway, right in front of a car.
So there are homes and a driveway and cars. And you're supposed to be able to, when you're driving in a residential area with a posted speed limit, you're supposed to be able to stop your car on a dime. Because 99.9% of the time, when a car hits a kid, it's the car's fault.
Well, the speed limit was 25 in there, but I was not doing 25. I just wanted to state that.
Well, you don't know that at all.
What's that?
That you were not doing the speed limit or you were going over the speed limit. I don't know that at all, because until this
Okay.
incident happened with this young man, you weren't much paying attention to how fast you were going. You were going at a reasonable rate of speed. You were coming back to look for your mechanic after having gone for a little ride around. And you're not paying much attention to whether you're going 10 miles an hour or 15 miles or 20 miles an hour.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She wasn't a witness, but she's a neighbor, saying the kid's always riding the street. And other neighbors have said that it's a wonder they haven't hit him because they dart out.
They didn't. He did.
And later today,
She had some sort of words with your brother. You went over there to straighten it out.
Correct.
And it is your claim that he kicked your car. He says he hit you, but he didn't hit your car.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Rohrbaugh says he was driving a rented car when 8-year-old Brandon Perez ran into him with his bicycle. Brandon says it was Donald who ran into him.
Why weren't you driving?
I wasn't driving because
You weren't driving because what?
we had taken the car over to Arizona. I drove back from Arizona. I was tired, so he knew where the mechanic lived, so he went.
I thought he said he was coming back from Alaska and his car broke down.
No. He was in Alaska fishing back in August.
Yes.
And then I flew to Seattle, met him. Car broke down. The transmission went out on our way down. The car had been broke down for 3 weeks or more.
You have the rental agreement on the car?
I do, and I didn't
I'd like
bring
to take a look at it.
I did not bring that with me.
Why not?
I didn't know I was supposed to. I should have brought it. I didn't. I
Well,
brought
I would
the
like to see whether he was
receipt.
a... Shh. I would like to see whether he was an authorized... Who did you rent it from?
Enterprise.
Was he an authorized driver on the car?
Yes.
Did you take out insurance when you rented the car?
I did not, because I have Allstate, and it covers...
You have Allstate and it covers what?
It covers me when I rent a car.
So then why are you suing him?
Well, his insurance doesn't cover a rental car. Mine does, but he was the driver.
Then you should have taken out the insurance, right?
Well, we didn't know until this happened that his didn't cover the rental car. I thought they did.
You're lucky they're not suing you.
Well,
And him.
the police report here says, that, you're saying that he didn't know how fast he was going, but we did, because this rental
I'd like
car...
to see the police report.
Okay. Down at the bottom it says cause. It said he was in violation of entering a road unsafe. Your Honor, I know you don't like statements, but I do have one from a neighborhood. She wasn't a witness, but she's a neighbor, saying the kids always ride in the street, and I have a copy of that. She couldn't come because of her work.
I believe kids always ride in the street. Miss Rose, that's what I'm saying to him. That's what kids do.
But she's saying that she and other neighbors have said that it's a wonder they haven't hit him before, because they dart out.
They didn't. He did.
Excuse me, Your
My
Honor.
grandson doesn't ride in the street.
Just a second. I have grandchildren that ride in the street with a helmet.
I don't.
Miss Rose, you made a mistake. The mistake was, if you let somebody else drive a car that you've rented, you have to make sure that they have insurance, so that if you have an accident in the car, then the damage to the car is covered. What I'm telling you is, you're lucky they're not suing you. They may not be successful, but in the minds of most people, as between him and your car's supposed to be careful. This is a pretty serious impact. It smashed a windshield. And if what you're saying is he was coming out of a driveway, that's not a very long way from
He
a
was
hill
doing
and
a wheelie off the side, and he was going very fast. And I have a perfect
Just a
driving
second.
record.
How do you know?
check
Just a
all-
second. How do you know he was going very fast?
He was flying in the air, fast. That's why he was flying.
How can he fly?
Off the curb. It wasn't down the driveway, it was off the curb.
Then you saw him before.
I saw him when he
Then
hit
you
the car.
saw him. No, if you saw him when you hit the car, that's not seeing him before.
Well, I
Miss
saw him,
Rose.
but I was the passenger. I said,
Well, if you
no.
saw him and you were the passenger, then he should have been going slowly enough so that he could have stopped. And that's what I'm saying to you. What do you want?
I was just going to say, he came out of there real fast. He was pedaling hard.
Just a second. You saw him pedaling hard?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Then you should have been able to stop if you were going slowly enough. In a residential neighborhood, sir. That's what I'm saying to you. This may not be sufficient for him to have a successful lawsuit against you, but I'm telling you, it's the height of chutzpah for you to sue him for going into your windshield. Your case is dismissed. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's true. I was in a residential area. I know there's kids around. And, what do you do? Just stop? Just not move in the residential area?
It's amazing how can an adult sue a kid for driving his bicycle.
Claim that the accident was caused when your daughter reached over and grabbed the steering wheel because there were some wild turkeys in the road.
Yes.
And your car was wrecked.
Yes.
And you think she's responsible?
Yes.
Not likely.
Well, Your Honor, I believe that I would have never wrecked my vehicle if she would have pulled the steering wheel out of my control and drove right into a tree.
She never would have had the opportunity had you not been out drinking with your daughter.
I had a firm grip on the steering wheel.
She never would have had the opportunity to grab your steering wheel if you hadn't been out drinking with your daughter. Where did you go drinking that night?
We went to Velva.
What's Velva?
Velva is a city approximately 15 to 20 minutes away from Sawyer.
Who else went out drinking that night?
It was just us two, ma'am.
Is this the first time you went out drinking with your mother?
No, ma'am.
What time did you start drinking?
It was approximately around 9 p.m.
So it was an evening of drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see any turkeys in the road?
No, ma'am.
She said they were chickens.
Okay, whether they were turkeys,
I'm
chickens,
sorry,
mongoose, or pelicans.
I'm sorry.
If you hadn't been drinking that night, the accident wouldn't have happened.
I'm an experienced driver.
Even when you're drinking?
And I haven't had that much to drink that night.
I am disinclined to find your daughter responsible for an accident that happened while you were driving after you had spent a night drinking. So if your truck was wrecked, and if you didn't have insurance on it, go out and buy a new one.
I did.
However, that's what your daughter says that you did. And she has a counterclaim that I'm really more interested in.
Your Honor.
And her counterclaim is that after this happened, you asked her to cash a check for you, and she did. You told her that the check was from some work that you did online. She cashed the check for you for $2,000. With the $2,000, you went and bought another vehicle. But it turns out that the $2,000 check was a scam. And her bank account was then overdrawn, and the bank went and claimed the money because it was a bad check. She wants you to pay her back that money. Now, where did you get this check from?
It was from Interglobal Lotto. I have the letter that I received.
Can I see the letter, please? Now, when was the car accident with the alleged turkeys?
In
what
about
month?
April, the middle part of April of 2006.
And you got this letter from Interglobal Lotto 2006, after the turkeys?
Yes. And, Your Honor, I would have never crashed my van.
I don't want to hear any more about your van.
If she would have been...
I don't want to hear any more about your van. You wouldn't have crashed your van if you hadn't gone out drinking with your daughter.
If I would have been by myself, I would have never crashed.
It's not happening, madam. Move on with it. So after you got this bogus letter, what did you do?
I got a hold of Crystal, and I asked her if she could take me to our bank, because we both banked at the same bank.
For what?
To cash the check. That was attached with that letter.
Your Honor, I do have a copy of the check.
Can I see it, please?
And
Yes,
we
ma'am.
went there, and they said that I no longer had an account there, so Crystal said that I'll cash it on my account because I have an open account, and the bank teller had her sign it after I had signed it.
Good, and she cashed this bogus check for you that any 4-year-old could tell from the letter itself was a bogus letter. The only thing it didn't say that it came from some third world country, which they usually do.
Your Honor.
Just say nothing. She cashed the check and she gave you the
money after I gave her $250 for...
She gave you the money?
Yes.
And what did you do with the money?
I paid on some bills and I bought myself a vehicle.
Fine. So you spent the money on yourself, on your bills, which you would have to pay anyway, and a car for you, and it turned out to be a bad check. Who do you think should be responsible for paying for your bills and your car? Her or you?
Well, she never paid anything for it. And the bank, it was investigated by a detective. And he investigated the case because the bank had filed a...
Listen to my question.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if this letter that any idiot would know is a fake...
Yes.
...came with a check for $2,000, and if they said, we'd want you to cash this check and then send us back $2,000, and we're going to send you $120,000...
That's not what it says on the letter, though.
I know that. Put on your listening ears. If it had said that,
right.
If is the word, and she cashed the check for $2,000, and you sent it back to Interglobal Lotto, and it turned out to be a bad check, and you were just waiting for your $120,000 to come, I would say, well, maybe you both got skunked. She was dumb enough to cash the check, and you were dumb enough to believe this windfall. But that's not what happened.
Right.
You paid your own bills, bills that you would have to pay anyway. You bought yourself things. You had the advantage of the money. So between you and your daughter, who should have to pay it back? You, listen to me, you who got the benefit of the money, or your daughter, who maybe got the benefit of $250.
Well, Your Honor, it says on there, though, that that's just to pay the taxes on the $120,000. So I figured I'd spend the $1,900 and then wait until I got my $120,000 and then I'd take care of the taxes.
Do you have a lot of children?
5.
Are you not listening to what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
Then try answering my question.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who should pay the money back? Is that a hard question?
No.
Is that a hard question?
Real people. Judge Judy. Doreen Knutson says her daughter, Crystal Kuntz, wrecked her car while trying to avoid turkeys crossing the road.
You got the benefit of the money. You spent it on yourself.
Right.
She didn't. Between you, who got the benefit of the money, and your daughter, who did not get the benefit of the money, who should pay the money back? Is that a hard question?
No.
Is that a hard question? I've repeated it now 3 times. 3 times. My 4-year-old grandchild could give me an answer to that question, madam.
Well, actually, I think the bank should go after the company who issued the check, because it's like writing a bad check. They wrote a bad check and they won't honor it. The bank cashed the
I would
check.
like you, Miss Knutson, to make me a promise. I want you to raise your right hand, please. I will never go into global finance.
Go into global finance.
Because I do not have the capacity.
No, I don't want to say that.
Yeah,
but-
well, you don't. Did your mother give you $250? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes, ma'am. The reason why she had given that back to me, she was on my savings account at my bank. There was an issue previously, which I do not have the information on, but I have a little sister where I went to my bank one day, my account was overdrawn, and my little sister that's only 13 apparently had a checking account, and there was a check that was deposited into the account that was overdrawn. Come to find out, my little sister that was 13 never had an account. I had to end up paying because I only had $70 in there at the time, and so she felt to pay me that back out of the check that she had received.
Was there a problem with your 13-year-old daughter's account?
No.
No, all right.
She never had an account.
All right.
That was her.
Your claim against your daughter for causing the wreck of your car is dismissed. I am awarding her $2,000 on her counterclaim. You spent the money, you enjoyed the money, you paid your bills, you have to reimburse the bank. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's too bad that my mother had to sue me.
It breaks my heart.
I think she just wanted the money for a new vehicle.
I thought, maybe she could help me out.
There were no turkeys on the road.
It happened, like I said, it happened.
Maybe not be together.
Definitely no going out driving anymore.
I just hope I can have my mom back and we can be the same as
years. He has had some trouble in his life in the past. You've been to prison.
Yes, ma'am.
But recently, he found your daughter on the internet.
Correct.
And they developed a relationship. According to you, you made a loan to him. He repaid that loan. And then shortly thereafter said he needed an additional loan. And because he had such a good credit history with you, and because he and your daughter were now involved in a father-daughter relationship, you loaned him an additional amount of money, $7,000. Did he make any payments on that $7,000?
He did, Your Honor. He actually made the first payment that was due.
And then he stopped making the payments?
He did.
You want to show me proof where you took the money from?
Yes.
And just for my own information, could you tell me why you put yourself in a financial bind to give him $7,000?
Well, I actually didn't have any cash money to give him. We were becoming friends, and I was in support of my daughter's relationship with him. He came with me with problems, and he had a lot on his plate.
Just 1 second. So you got $7,000. Where did you put this money?
I deposited it in my credit union account.
Let me see it.
May I see that when you finish, Judge? Because that's news to me. I never
That what?
That she took out $7,000 to loan to me. That's news to me.
Well, she did. On June 13th, $2,500, and on June 20th, $4,500.
Well, I'm not really sure of the amounts.
Well, tell me what amounts you acknowledge that she gave you, sir.
She gave me $2,000 one time, and she gave me about $3,000 another time, and then I gave her $1,000 for my daughter's deposit for the car. So
I don't care about your deposit for your daughter's car. I'm talking about in June of 2006. You have a cashier's check for the $4,500 that you gave him?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please,
It's
just so we
with
get...
the other papers I gave you.
It's in here?
And I'd like to see a copy of that because I'm not aware of that.
Right here, sir.
Right, ma'am, but it wasn't made out to me, right? She just wrote my name at the bottom. I mean, that doesn't mean that she gave the money to me. That doesn't, right? Is that what that's saying? Is that saying it was made out to me? I don't think I
Paid in
cashed.
the order of James Hampton.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it's made out to me. But like I said, she had been giving me money. I'd been giving her money, so I really don't have record of that. But the money was given to me for the simple fact of that I was behind in some of my bills, but she never said I had to repay the money back. What happened was this whole case, why we're here today, is I had just been notified that I had a son that I hadn't seen in 14 years. Hadn't seen my daughter in 14 years. I got tired of being a deadbeat dad and went and took the necessary steps it took to reunite my family. What happened was, at that time, when Edith, like you said, why was she doing all these nice things? Edith was kind of, I guess, trying to rekindle the relationship and saying, here, James, here's some money. You don't have to really have money. And that's cool, but I never really, want somebody to give me something for free. I told her, Edith, I'll pay you back if, if I come into some money. She said, don't worry about it. I understand that, you're going to therapy with your child. You've got lawyer fees. I understand that, I kind of lied to your daughter about us, about you being alive. I really was incarcerated, but she told my daughter I was dead. My daughter never got in touch with me through years of searching, 3 or 4 years. I finally tracked her down and took responsibility with my son. But what happened was my daughter took my son down, and my son, who I had got temporary custody, had a lot of problems, had a lot of mental, emotional problems. When she picked up my son, she took my son to Sacramento. I called him up. I said, hey, did you take his medicine? She said, no, her and Edith had been convinced my son didn't need medicine and everything. Well, when I talked to my son on the phone, he was, yeah, Dad, I'm going to beat you up. And he was really disturbed. I said, hey, we need to get that kid his medicine right away. So my daughter, and this is what really gets me, I got 2 adults supposed to have good sense, and my son, who I can't really blame him because he's only 15-year-old. These 2 manipulated my son and tell him, I don't want to come back up to you, Daddy. You make me work too much. And they made allegations. And here's the kicker part, Judge. They take the kid and they take them back to the boys' home, which 9 months going to therapy, visits, picking them up. They go back to the boys' home with my son, who needs his medicine, and they tell the social service that I abused my kid, rush him over to the hospital, have them all checked out. Come to find out, I got the report right here from social service. There was no abuse to the kid, and they said that the police was coming to get me, and I better watch out. I finally told them, hey, I'm like John Gotti. I'm the Teflon Don, because I wasn't worried about the allegations. I wasn't worried about them. You only worry about something when you do it, not when you don't do it. So social service called me up and said, Mr. Hampton, there's no problems with the allegations. They're not true. The problem is your son don't want to come back there, because these people are supposed to, if she don't have to love me no more, but she should have the respect. I am the father of her kid, and I can't believe that how they couldn't say, well, let me sleep on it maybe before we take the kid back. You don't take some kid because you think he did something and take him back to social. Now I have to start all over. I have to go and hire another attorney, and I have to get trust in my son. So this is what this lady's trying to do, manipulate. Only when she found out that I had another girlfriend and the relationship between me and her wouldn't happen again. I move on, Your Honor. Once the lady leaves me, keep it moving. I'll move on to the next one.
Miss Allen, I have a few questions for you.
Yes.
How old are you?
44.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
Kaiser Permanente.
And how long have you worked for them?
10 years.
Okay. How many times have you been incarcerated?
None.
Never. Right?
Right.
Now, your daughter, Nicole, what does she do?
She's a medical assistant also at Kaiser.
She went to school?
She did.
Graduated?
Yes, she did.
And she's 24?
Correct.
Is she your only child?
No, I have another daughter who lives in Houston, goes to college.
Goes to college?
Right.
Well, Judge, can I say what?
I want to hear nothing. I let you speak. Correct?
Yes.
I let you speak. I'm trying to figure out, Mr. Hampton.
There are upstanding
Listen to me.
I admit.
Listen to me. I'm trying to figure out who's the nut. So I have to find out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Whatever allegations he's making, she didn't put those allegations in his head.
Couldn't
Mr. Hampton, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Listening ears, sir.
And later today,
the reason why he's saying that he pushed him in the pool because Demetrius was in his way.
And how do you figure that's his mother's fault?
Edith Allen claims the father of her daughter, James Hampton, owes for a loan. James says Edith falsely accused him of child abuse.
Now, how old are you?
47.
And in the last 20 years, how many years have you been in prison?
Well, I haven't been in prison the last 15 years, but...
I thought you said to me that you got your act together in 1995.
Okay, my last conviction was in 91. I got out of prison in 95. So I've been out of prison for 11 years.
Yeah, it's not 15.
Before I committed a crime, it's been 15 years since I committed a crime. I had to do 4 years in prison, ma'am.
Well, that's not what I asked you.
Okay, it's been 11 years since I've been out of prison.
Okay, and prior to 1990, how many times were you in prison?
Your Honor, I mean...
Lots.
Lots of times.
All right, so let me...
People change. People change.
Great. But some people change for the better, and some people don't. So I wanted to find out if Miss Allen had gone downhill in the last 15 years, because let me try to put together in a package what you testified to. You testified that when you got out of jail in 1995, but it took you a lot longer to find your daughter Nicole.
Yes.
Because you didn't get out of jail and say, gee, I want to find out where my daughter Nicole is the second I'm out of jail, and I want to find out where this son is that I allegedly have, you know, immediately. It took you a little time to get your act together, like a decade to get your act together. Well, you finally got your act together. You came into this woman's life. You hadn't been in her life in a quarter of a century, and she wanted to help you. She lent you money. You paid her back. She gave you more money, took out a loan from her credit union to give you more money, helped you with your son, helped you initially. You and your daughter are doing fine. She's even embraced your son, who was not her child, and said to her daughter, you can bring him to our house. He's your half-brother. I want you, is that a fair statement, Nicole?
Yes, ma'am.
Want you to be involved with him, want you to, all of a sudden, you want me to believe that she turns on you for no reason. And your son, who was not a baby, we're not talking about a 3-year-old saying that you abused him. We're talking about a child who was 14?
Yes, ma'am.
14 years old saying, listen, whatever it is, I don't want to go back to live with my father. I'd rather go live in the group home where he took me from because of whatever allegations he's making against you. She didn't put those allegations in his
Why
head.
couldn't
Mr.
she?
Hampton, listen to me. You're not listening to what I'm saying. Listening ears, sir. I said she didn't put those allegations in your son's head. Now, he may have been hallucinating, but that's not her job. Her job is, if she has this minor in her home, abuse, she's not supposed to sleep on it. She has to call the authorities and say, this is what the child is reporting to me. You do an investigation. That doesn't relieve you of your debt. You owe her the money. She gave it to you in good faith, and you will repay her in good faith, Mr. Hampton. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, I think a lot of people, because you've been in trouble before, they think, oh, well, you're still a criminal.
I'm glad justice was served.
But people change, and people should allow people to change.
So far away from telling the truth.
And the lessons I've learned from the past is only going to make me a better citizen and a better person.
He's an abuser. He always has been.
My daughter won't accept that, you know, maybe we can start fresh.
I want to move on with my life.
She's still saying, you haven't been around in my life.
I could care less one way or the other if my father is involved in my life.
Let all that go, and let's, you know, build a relationship.
As long as I can continue to have a relationship with my brother.
Maggie O'Miller claims Teresa Chaidez is in possession of a ring belonging to her. Teresa is countersuing, claiming Maggie embarrassed her at her place of business.
Miss O'Miller, it is your claim that the defendants are in possession of a ring that is yours.
That's right, Your Honor.
And it is a ring that left your possession at some point. You don't know how, you don't know when, but you saw Miss Chaidez wearing the ring in a store. She was employed in the store. You looked at the ring, and since you say it was a unique ring made for you, you were sure that it was yours. You told her it was yours. You went and got the police. They came back. She said her boyfriend or fiancé had given her the ring several years before. This is the fiancé, Mr. Tapia, who says that he purchased the ring, that he paid $1,000 for it, and you want your ring back or money.
I want the ring.
When did you have the ring made?
In 1991.
By whom?
By Creations and Gold up in Seattle, Washington, and this is the jeweler and her husband that made my ring.
Well, who made the ring? This lady or her husband?
Her husband, and he's since deceased.
All right. Did you work with him?
Yes, we had a store together.
Were you the designer or was he the designer?
I was the designer mostly. He did the fabrication.
Stand up. Did you personally do it or did your husband do it?
We both did.
And you remember this particular ring 15 years later?
Yes, I do.
Where did you get the model from for the ring?
It was our design. My husband made.
Can I see the ring, please?
Ring for me first.
What do you mean he made it for you first?
A ring like it.
Just a second. He made a ring for you like this first.
Yes.
And then he made another one for Miss O'Miller?
Yes.
Was she a friend of yours?
We met in a restaurant and she approached me and said, may I look at your ring? And I said, yes. And then she asked, I said, my husband and I have the store. And then she came to the store.
Where's the one that your husband made for you?
Right here.
Let me see it.
Yes.
Do you want another one that he made? These were made together at the same time.
I just want to see the one that he made for her.
Okay.
Well, these are practically identical.
Yes.
Except the gold is different. Yours is heavier. One that she says is hers is lighter. Practically identical. And your husband, did he surprise you with this? Is my question. Did your husband surprise you with this ring?
Yes, he did.
So that you are not telling me the truth. What's your last name?
Grenzner.
You are not telling me the truth when you say that you designed it with him. Because these rings are practically identical. And if what you're telling me is that your husband surprised you, listen to me, surprised you with your ring, that means that you didn't design it. That means he designed it.
We designed it, but he surprised me, and I got the ring for Christmas. Yes, he surprised me with the ring, but not with the design. That is the truth.
Madam, that's a lot of double talk.
No.
If your husband surprised you with the ring, that means that he designed it and gave it to you as a surprise. A husband doesn't say, I want to surprise you with a ring. Let's sit down and you design it, and then it's going to be a surprise. Husband says, I'm going to surprise my wife for Christmas and give her a ring, which he designed. And then when she came in and wanted a ring similar to yours, two of you may have gotten together and say, well, we can make a ring very similar to mine. It's not exactly the same because this is more weight. This is less weight than yours. You understand that. But you did not design it. Sit down.
Can I show you one that he designed to go with that ring?
No, it's not necessary.
Okay.
Not necessary. There's nothing unique about this ring. You've been around jewelry as long as I've been around jewelry. This is, may not be exactly the same, but it's not unique. Now, when was the last time, Miss O'Miller, when was it that you actually saw your ring that either is this ring or is similar to this ring?
Approximately about 3 years ago.
Where did you see it 3 years ago?
In my home.
When did you first miss your ring?
Probably about a week after I'd moved.
Which was when?
3 years ago.
Do you have a police report?
I never made a police report because I didn't know at the time it was lost or stolen. I just thought I'd misplaced it, so I didn't call.
Well, maybe you lost it. Is that possible?
Possible.
Did you have a moving company move you?
It was a small moving company that had moved.
So the answer is that you had a moving company move you.
Right.
So 3 years ago, you did not make a report of any stolen property.
Correct.
So you did nothing.
Nope.
Now, where did you buy this ring, Mr. Tapia?
In Indio, California.
Where?
At a pawn shop.
Had you ever been to that pawn shop before?
No, it was my first time there.
Do you remember who you dealt with there?
No, I just remember taking my grandmother with me, and it was $1,000, so I asked her to loan me $500 of it.
You gave him $500?
Yes, I loaned him $500.
Did he ever pay you back?
Yes, he paid me $100 a month for 5 months.
Okay. So?
So I believe that's my ring. I could tell by the flat back. That was one of his trademarks. It's like the one I have now.
Miss O'Miller, this is a legal issue. If I believe Mr. Tapia that he purchased this ring at a store for $1,000, he becomes what we call in the law a purchaser in due course for value, which means this ring is probably worth no more than $1,000. It has very tiny stones. It doesn't have the, I don't know how much you paid for it.
$3,000.
Well, you overpaid. You can give this back to her. Let us say you lost the ring. Let us say somebody else found the ring and brought it to the pawn shop. In commerce, there's a rationale behind this rule. In commerce, unless you're dealing with a car or a boat or a house, which has to be in writing, if you purchase something, and if you purchase it for value, you get the title to it. Now, if Mr. Tapia bought this ring on the street for $50, then he is not a purchaser in due course for value. Then he is on notice that this may be a stolen ring, because nobody sells a ring that's worth $1,000 for $50 unless it's stolen goods. But I believe him, and I believe his grandmother, that they paid $1,000 for this ring. That doesn't mean you get it back.
First of all, his name was not Topia when I was going through all this. His name was Estrada. Then I got a phone call from a man claiming to be a lawyer representing Mr. Estrada. The man that subpoenaed these people with their warrants talked to the lawyer that he's...
Just what kind of warrants? What are you talking about, warrants?
Well, you know, when you go and form... How do I say it?
You went to her place of business where she works as a salesperson. You saw the ring. You said, let me see the ring. She showed you the ring. You said, where did you get it? She said, my boyfriend gave it to me. It's an engagement ring. You said, I have a ring like that. I think it's mine. She said, no, it's mine. You left. You went to the police. You brought the police back to her place of employment because that's her counterclaim, that you embarrassed her. Okay, so now we're at a point where you brought the police back to her place of employment and you said, that's my ring, and it must have been stolen. Is that what you said?
No.
What did you say?
I went home, called the police, and said I saw my ring on her finger at Mathis Brothers. Okay. The police lady said, he'll meet you in 15 minutes over at Mathis Brothers.
So then you went to Mathis Brothers, and she was there, and she said, it's my ring.
Can I say something? The officer did say it was stolen, that she said it was stolen. But in front of me, she said it was lost.
So far, I haven't heard any libel, slander, or defamation. She didn't accuse you of stealing it.
Well, when she brought the cops...
You were embarrassed.
I was embarrassed.
You were embarrassed, but that, you know, that's unfortunate. But she's entitled to do that. She said, it's my property. I want it back. Okay, so...
Then I talked to him, and he said, well, for $1,000. He said, it's probably a ring, and for $1,000 you could have it back. And I said, why should I buy something back that's mine, that I feel is mine?
Is that what you said to her?
No, I said that I bought the ring for $1,000, and if she wanted it, she'd have to pay me $1,000, which what I paid.
Is that what he said to you? Yes. Well, that's different from what you just told me, Miss O'Miller.
What did I just say that's so different?
You can have it back for $1,000. That's different from saying I paid $1,000 for it, and if you say it's yours, I'm willing to give it back to you, but you have to pay me what I paid for it. That's different. One has a positive connotation and one has a negative connotation.
I can see how you said it just then, yes, I can.
No, see how you said it.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
I'd like to know why all of a sudden his name became Mr. Topeka.
I don't know. I have a very long name myself. Judith, Blum, Levy, Sheindlin. My name is very, very long. That has nothing to do with the fact that you lost your ring 3 years ago, and you can't have it back. This may be your ring. It may not be your ring. Why in the world would I ascribe to these people any kind of criminal behavior 3 years away? Now, if you told me that he was one of the people who moved your property from one place to another, I would say, aha, a light would go off in my head. Did you work for the moving company that moved her?
Never have in my life.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Well, you can't go around, you know, accusing people of having property, stolen property, and believing that it's stolen. Return this, please. Miss Shades?
Shades, yes.
Yes, it's yours. Miss O'Miller, sad that you lost your ring. I would have felt much better about it if you had reported it to the police stolen. You did nothing. And who knows what happened to it in 3 years? It may have fallen in a truck, and 2 months later, somebody found it in the truck and said, I don't even know where this came from. Said, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to sell it to a pawn shop and see what they give me for it. He sees it. He goes with his grandmother. He says, I only have $500. Can you lend me the other $500? I believe his grandmother when she said that he paid her back. You don't get your ring back, Miss O'Miller. She also doesn't have to pay you for embarrassing you in the store. She didn't accuse you of stealing it.
Well, when the officer came, he said that, you know, it was stolen. And, I mean, I felt embarrassed when he comes into my job and, you know,
you don't
she made me lose time off of work. And she also had my address with, I don't know how she got my new address. I just moved into a new house. I feel like she's stalking me.
She's not stalking you anymore.
She has.
She's not stalking you anymore. She is entitled to sue you. Listen to me carefully. She's entitled to sue you. She had a good faith basis to believe that this was her property. And quite frankly, unless you could establish to my satisfaction, which you have, that you were a holder in due course for value, which means you paid value for this ring, I might have returned it to her if I believed it was hers to begin with. But I believe that you purchased it, and I believe you purchased it in good faith with your grandmother. I believe you paid value for it, and therefore the title is clear, is in your name. Do we all understand that? Good. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Holly Corbella says former high school classmate Summerlin Gray vandalized her car. Summerlin says Holly tried to run her over after a confrontation with her boyfriend.
Ms. Corbella, according to what I've put together from your complaint, you knew the defendant from high school. You weren't friends, but you knew her from high school. And it is your claim that she vandalized your car. She vandalized your car by kicking it with you in it. Correct. This was after some sort of an altercation at a place where she works. The defendant says that if she touched your car or came into contact with your car, it was because you were trying to run her over. And if there was any damage to your car, it was as a result of that. So, how long ago did you graduate from high school?
2004.
And you?
2004, ma'am.
And you weren't friends?
No.
Were you enemies?
Not really. We just didn't really talk.
Didn't talk, didn't care for each other, so you weren't friends, you weren't enemies, you just knew each other?
Yes.
When did this incident happen with your car?
November 10th, 2005.
Where?
In Crinkles, which is her parents' store.
Crinkles?
Yeah.
What kind of a store is it?
It's like a type 7-Eleven type store.
Okay, so tell me what happened on November 10th.
Me and my boyfriend, we went to the store, I believe to get cigarettes.
To the store that her parents owned?
Yeah, which I didn't even know that her parents owned the store. So we went in, I went in with him to buy the cigarettes. I knew the guy at the cash register, so I was talking to him.
Who was that?
I believe his name was Dan. I knew him from like high school. Like I hadn't seen him in years. And then I just told him that I was gonna go sit in the car because there was a line to listen to music. So I went in the car. And he was in the store and she came over.
Stand up, sir.
Yes.
Your last name is?
Lord, L-O-R-D.
Okay, so you were standing on line?
Yes.
She went back to sit in the car?
Yes.
What happened in the store?
I was standing in line, and she had came up to the register talking to the guy that she had said hello to, Dan, I believe. When she started talking, she started saying a lot of things about her. I don't want her in my store, like very bad verbal things, and she didn't know I was with her.
What kind?
Can I say it on TV? Just, I don't want that in my store, or this and that. I don't, you know, she shouldn't be here. If she ever comes in again, I'm going to kick her. Stuff like that. And I basically, she didn't know I was with her, and I was in the back of the line. And then eventually I was like, do you speak to all your customers like that? And then she basically, you know, started yelling at me, and we got into an argument.
Well, what did she say to you?
She was just like, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Holly Corbella's boyfriend. And she's like, yeah. Well, she's like, you can get out of my store, too. I said, oh, this is your store? And she's like, yeah, it's my store. I said, you own this store, and this is how you respect your customers, by yelling like that.
Okay, so you had a verbal altercation with this young lady.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Basically, it kept going on, and then the guy at the register tried calming her down, calming me down, because we were both arguing, and it started to come outside. She came out to me outside, right in the front
Did you
door.
leave?
Yes, I left.
Did you pay for your cigarettes?
Yes.
Paid for your cigarettes and you walked out?
Yes.
Okay. Now, he's paid for his cigarettes. Is that right, Miss Gray?
No, ma'am.
He didn't pay?
No, ma'am. He
Really?
didn't purchase anything that night, ma'am, and if I may, I will
Just
start...
a second. So he didn't purchase anything. Are you saying you didn't walk out with your cigarettes?
I purchased a 6-pack of Heineken and a pack of cigarettes, cash.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Miss Gray. I believe him.
Okay. Well,
I believe that he waited online because he wasn't leaving without those cigarettes and he wasn't leaving without the beer. So I believe...
Well, why would anybody, right?
Just a second. Because he's waited online, he's already argued with you, so he may have been disgusted with your store, but he wasn't leaving without his items. So I believe he bought them and he paid for them.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Now, you want to tell me what problem you had with Miss Corbella?
Well, that night, ma'am, Miss Corbella had walked into the food side of my store, and her boyfriend had walked into the liquor side of my store. Holly seen me. She looked directly in my eyes. I didn't say anything out loud to where any customers heard anything, and I pulled my brother aside, who is the manager, and I said, I don't want her in this store. I don't trust her. I've had altercations with her from stealing and hearing...
I thought you said that you didn't have any bad contact with her.
No, I don't.
So what do you mean?
Because my friend has gotten in trouble from her stealing, whatever.
What do you mean your friends got into trouble with her from stealing?
We were never friends, never liked each other. We had this one friend that was friends with me and friends with her.
Yes.
My friend that was also friends with both of us got in trouble with her stealing.
Just a second. So your friend was arrested for stealing, for theft?
Yes.
And according to you, she was with this friend when she got arrested for stealing?
Yes.
Okay. Was she arrested for stealing?
No.
Just your friend was arrested for stealing?
With her, yes.
No. Listen to me.
Yes, she wasn't arrested. No, yes, my friend was
Just
arrested.
your friend was arrested for
Yes.
stealing. Now, he's on his way out the door. Why did you follow him out the door? Look at me.
I followed him out the door because the altercation that happened inside my parents' store, he left mad, and she actually was inside the store when the fighting was going on. So she heard everything and she seen everything. I followed him out of this store because my car was in the parking lot, and I didn't want anything happening to my car, anything in the parking lot, because
Now.
they threatened me.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. Very carefully. There was a line when Mr. Lord was waiting to pay for his cigarettes and his beer, which means there were other customers in the store.
Right.
How many other customers would you say were in the store?
There were only about 3, ma'am.
And is your store a standalone store, or are there other stores in a shopping mall? Or
It's a standalone, ma'am.
how many people were in the store after Mr. Lord left the store?
The same 3, ma'am.
So that there were at least 3 other cars out there. Is
Right.
that right? Listen to me carefully. Plus your car, right?
Plus my car, yes.
And you hadn't seen Miss Corbella since high school, right? And you never met Mr. Lord, right?
Right.
So how do they know which is your car and which is a car
Holly
that
Corbella
belongs?
knows well what my car looks like. I've had the same car since high school, and she's seen my car outside her friend's car and me get into it a couple of times and drive away.
Great.
So
Did she
knows-
just listen to me? Did she ever hurt your car before?
We've never had an altercation.
Just listen to me. Did
No.
she ever hurt your
No,
car
ma'am.
before?
No.
What happened when she followed you outside?
We were still arguing. She told me, you know, I'm going to kick her if she doesn't leave. So I walked up into the car. As I got in the car, no lie, the size of her, I was surprised how strong she came at the car and kicked the car in right where I was. As I closed the door, she came and kicked it. There was no running over her. Then she even went in front of the car as we were leaving. And Holly was all nervous, so she was trying to get around her. The car was already kicked.
You have a picture of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to see
I have
it,
a couple
please.
pictures, actually.
Were you there, sir?
I was outside smoking a cigarette, Your Honor.
I don't remember.
Oh, this is a kick, Miss Gray. This is a kick, my dear.
This is not a kick.
Yeah, this is a kick, Miss Hot Temper.
Okay.
This is a kick. This is not I fell into your car accident. This is a kick. Does this look like I fell into the car accidentally, or does this look like somebody kicked it?
It was a
fell
running
into it
kick.
several times.
Looks like I fell into it several times. Got a hot temper, madam. You can't do that. You can't
I'm sorry,
vandalize
ma'am.
somebody
if
else's
somebody
car.
comes into my family business, he had nothing to do with what I said to her because he didn't even hear me.
What does that have to do with kicking his car?
He wanted to throw a beer case at me over my family counter is what the first threat was. And then, yes, I did go outside to make sure everything was okay in the parking lot. He did not get directly in the car. He stood in my face threatening me to where the point my brother had to come outside and separate us.
Listen to me. What does that have to do with kicking her car?
I didn't kick her car,
You
ma'am.
did.
I flew backwards. No, I did not.
You don't want to say anything, do you?
I'll say something if you want me to.
Do I want you to? No. Could I have an estimate, please, to fix this car where Miss Hot Temper kicked your car?
And ma'am,
Your
they did
parents
not
leave
keep-
you in charge of that business often?
Actually, I'm not in charge, ma'am.
Well, it's good that at least they have some brains. They don't leave you in charge. But does somebody monitor the two of you in that store?
He doesn't work there, ma'am. He was waiting for me to get off.
They don't trust you to work in the store. They trust her. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $940. That's all. Step out.
Surprise. Your Honor, this is case number 165 on the calendar in the matter of Phillips versus Nance. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Am I correct, Mr. Phillips, that you and the defendant worked together?
Fortunately, no, Your Honor.
Did you work together?
No.
Well, you work in I couldn't quite figure that out from this complaint. You work in a hospital.
Correct, Your Honor. I am a practitioner RN from Ohio, and I was supposed to do 11 to 7.
Shh. You are a nurse.
Right.
In a hospital.
Right.
What kind of a hospital?
Rehab. Rehabilitation.
Psychiatric rehabilitation?
Alzheimer's, broken body parts, etc.
Do you work in that hospital?
No, ma'am.
Were you a patient in that hospital?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did you come to be in the hospital with him?
I was not at a hospital. Where he was where I was.
Just a second. This is, hey.
Order.
We worked on
Can we
different.
start over?
Okay.
All right, we're going to start over. Mr.
Okay.
Phillips,
Yes.
you and the defendant work at the same facility.
Unfortunately.
The answer is yes or no?
At that particular time, yes.
All right.
But different wings, Your Honor.
Okay, different wings.
Yes.
And you had an argument with her.
No, I did not, Your Honor.
So then why are you here, sir?
I am here because the fact that on my break, I had to go through her unit to get to the foyer, or let's say get to the patio for a cigarette. And earlier that day, I had been hearing the noise of a cat, and I thought the zoo had came in for the older people. And when I went to her wing, I noticed there was a cockatiel there. And I
cockatiel, you mean a bird?
Yes. And I complimented the bird. She wasn't present at the time when I made the compliment.
What did you say about the bird?
How pretty the bird is, how old the bird is, how big he is.
Who had the bird?
There was another employee who had the bird on their shoulder.
Now, this is a large white bird?
Yes, yes. And upon my giving compliments, this lady came out of nowhere, the defendant came out of nowhere, cursing and swearing, and telling me it wasn't a cockatiel, it's a cockatoo, and I should pronounce my words correctly, and she was ballistic. She went ballistic, Your Honor. And
just a second. Let me understand this. You said, what a nice cockatiel.
Yes.
And what you're telling me is she came out of nowhere and was angry because the bird, she said, was a cockatoo.
Right, right. And so I continued to go outside for my cigarette break. Oh, let's say a matter of minutes, between 2 and 3 minutes, this lady came out cursing, swearing, ballistic again. I put the cigarette out, went back onto my unit, and a couple of...
Without telling me the swear words, because I've heard them all, what was the gist of what she was saying to you?
That she just didn't didn't like me.
Had you ever seen her before?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
No.
So then you put out your cigarette, you went back to your unit.
Yes.
And what happened next?
Later on, maybe an hour or so, the supervisor called. And the lady who I was working with, she called me and told me that the supervisor wanted to speak to me over the phone. When I got to the nurse's station, I got the phone call. The nurse was telling me that this lady had called her and told her that I had cursed her out, that I had threatened her, that I had made her life miserable, her time there miserable, and not to go in that area again if I can avoid it. Go around for your next cigarette. So I said, fine, no problem. But I don't know who you're talking about, because she tried to describe the lady to me. I did not know her, so it was hard to describe her to me. But when I realized it was over the bird, I knew who the person was involved. And so between 9 o'clock and 10:30, I went on my second break. And I went around like I had been asked to. When I did, I noticed she, with this fella here, they came on the grounds. This guy came on the grounds with a sleeveless shirt on and short pants. He passed security and 3 units to come looking for me. She brought him to my unit, introduced him to the RNs who were on the unit as her son. Some told me that they were afraid that something was...
Don't tell me what they told you. She introduced them as her son.
Okay.
Tell me what happened with you.
And when after, at 11 o'clock is the end of the shift. Upon my leaving, he and 4 more men got out of a car. He approached me, and he said to me, and I quote, "Man, what is this I heard you saying to my mother? Why are you giving my mother a hard time? My mother, you say you're going to rape my mother?" And I looked at him like he was crazy. I said, "Look at her. Look at me. What do I want with that?" And I left it at that. And I said, "I can't believe this." I immediately went back into the hospital. I asked the supervisor who I had talked to earlier to call the Evergreen Police Department. She told me, "You call them yourself." Now, by the way, I didn't make it clear, I am agency. I am agency. That means I go wherever I'm needed.
So you don't work for the hospital. You
No.
work for an independent. You work for an independent agency, and they send you to various locations.
Yes, because I work for various hospitals.
So the
as
hospital
well
said
as-
to you, listen, you're not our responsibility. If you have a problem, you call yourself to the police.
Right. No, she really said it out of fright, Your Honor.
So you called the police, sir?
Yes, I went to the nurse's station and I called the police. Immediately, there was 2 squad cars and a paddy wagon.
Just a second. Is that what happened? Is that what you're suing about?
No, I am suing, Your Honor, for... Excuse me for just a minute, Your Honor.
Is that the incident that you're suing over, sir?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Have you told me about the incident now?
Yes, and here's you have a copy of the police report?
I don't have a copy of the police report, sir. I will take a copy of the police report.
This is the police report, and it states there...
Don't tell me what it states. I can read. What I'm asking you, sir, is have you concluded what the argument was with,
Your Honor, to be honest with you...
the defendant on that day? Because I have...
No, Your Honor. No, I did not. Because, like I said earlier, I do not know this lady, nor do I wish to be affiliated with this lady in any way, shape, or form. And when she told lies, I felt that it was slander. And she herself, it is a known fact that they... It's a known fact that they...
You're suing her for slander, Mr. Phillips.
Yes,
You've got to cut this short, sir.
Yes.
You're suing her for slander. And the slander you say is when she told her son or somebody else that you were going to rape her.
Right, and I also have...
Is that right so far?
Yes, and
Is there any other slander that you're suing her for? Yes or no?
Okay, no, I'm not. No other slanders, but the violation of my civil right was denied. There was an unlawful weapon on the premises, which she had. She was intoxicated as well.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And if I'd have cursed him out, you'd have heard it over here in California, all the way from Chicago.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nursing assistant Tina Nance says she was worried for her safety when her coworker, 45-year-old Henry Phillips, picked a fight with her over her pet cockatoo.
Now you want to tell me your version of what happened, madam?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I work at Advocate Transitional Care Center. I am a CNA, the same thing he is, which is a certified nursing assistant.
How long have you been working there?
I have been there 10 years. I work in the Alzheimer dementia wing. On this date in question, my daughter had her cockatoo. She is a Moluccan cockatoo, okay? He comes back in my wing where I worked in the 600 wing. He was supposed to be in the 500 wing. He come back there to tell me this was not a cockatoo, it was a cockatiel. I said, excuse me, I think I know what this bird is. It upset him and he continued to argue with me that this was a cockatiel and not a cockatoo. So he explained to me that a cockatiel is 1 and a cockatoo is 2 or more, okay? I stayed in my wing. This man kept coming through the 600 wing. He did not have to come through the 600 wing. He kept coming through there trying to agitate. This went on about 6 hours.
Tell me what he was saying when you say he was trying to agitate. What was he saying to you?
It wasn't that he said anything to me, Your Honor. He didn't say anything to me when he was coming through, but we knew he didn't have to come through the 600 wing.
Okay, go ahead.
After this went on, I talked to my supervisor, and I explained to her the situation and what this man had said.
Well, what did he say that you explained to your supervisor?
When we were outside, I went out to have a cigarette like he did. I told him if I was going to call you a liar, I would have my facts straight, which was meaning that this is not a cockatiel, it's a cockatoo. He told me to go to the UK. I don't know what that is and where it is. I tried to walk on inside. He told me he was going to mess me up. He was waiting for me. I went in, I talked to the supervisor, I explained to her what had happened and what had been said. I went back to my unit. He continued to come through there so much that my charge nurse called the supervisor and talked to her and told her that he continually come back there to the 600 wing. He was up there in the 500 wing. You could hear everything he was saying from up in the 500 wing. And he kept coming through there. I ignored him. My charge nurse asked that he not come through there again. It was shorter for him to go through his own wing than to be coming through my wing. This man filed a report. In the police report, and I have a copy of it too, there is nothing in there about I told my son that he tried to rape me. He also said in the report, it's in black and white, that I was high or drunk, smelling of alcohol, and was a menace to the institution and should be released. Now, I'd never seen this man one day in my life, to my knowledge, Your Honor. I would not approach somebody not knowing anybody. This man came up to me and just went out of the blue sky trying to tip. If she was a crocodiliac, it wasn't his business. He'd have no business back there in my wing trying to tell me what I was doing. Then this man goes and files a police report. Then he goes and tried to sue me. Nothing in that police report says anything, okay, about a rape. Nothing says anything about a weapon. I had no weapon. It seems to me, since you called the police and you thought I had the weapon, that'd been the first thing you told him. So that would have been in the police report. That was not there, okay? Then he said that I'm drunk. That is not in the police report. So all of a sudden, a day or two later, you go and sue somebody, you come up with some more information that wasn't even there.
I listened to you. Did I listen to you? What's your name?
Michael Johnson.
What were you doing in the hospital that day?
My mother called me, told me that she had gotten into an argument.
Look at me when you talk.
She had gotten into an argument with a man there. She told me that she thought she would be okay, but she wasn't sure because he had threatened to see her later on after work. So I came up there later around the time that she gets off of work, make sure that she's gonna get home safe. I'm standing outside talking to another woman that works there, right? He had come outside the building. Still, I hadn't known that this was the person that she even, you know, was saying that she was scared of. And he walked up to the lady that I was talking to and mentioned to her, did you hear this lady earlier arguing, talking about the bird is this, but it's that? I don't know what either one is.
And you don't care?
Know, no, not really.
Me neither.
And so she said, who? And he told her name, Tina. And she said, Tina in 600? Then that's when I said, well, Tina, well, that's my mother. What's going on, y'all? Y'all having a problem? He looked at me like I turned into a big monster, dropped his bags, ran inside the building, right? She standing outside at the time, so I'm talking to her, and she was like, well, yeah, he was the man, he was threatening, but I'm gonna be all right. And a couple seconds later, police pulled up like...
All right, why don't you sit down? I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Something I don't understand.
Yes.
Why did you get so aggravated because he called the bird a cockatiel and it was a cockatoo? Why did you get so aggravated?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I hope that I am never put in a hospital by my children and have to deal with two people like you.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Co-workers Tina Nance and Henry Phillips are before Judge Judy because of a fight they got into on the job. They claim the argument started over Tina's pet bird.
Why did you get so aggravated because he called the bird a cockatiel and it was a cockatoo? Why did you get so aggravated?
I wasn't aggravated at that time.
You said you went over and corrected him and said it's a cockatoo.
This was hours later after we said hearing him up front in the 500 wing, babbling on about this bird, him constantly coming through the 600 wing. You know, this was later on after this had started. I wasn't so much upset about whether he knew what he was talking about in the beginning, but he was sending people. He sent a girl that was working up there in the front, back there to come tell me that he's constantly going on with it, that this is a cockatoo.
Miss Nance, Put your hand down, sir. What I'm asking you is, if I believe what you tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you would agree that there's something wrong with him upstairs, right?
Yes.
So why would you have any confrontation with him at all? Why would you say a word to him? You did. You clearly did. You went out there, you had a cigarette when he went out, when he was out there. You engaged him. If what you're telling me is accurate, and you're a nurse who's supposed to handle people who have psychiatric problems, why would you get involved with somebody whose behavior was nutty? Why?
What I tried to do was keep the situation from being explosive. I left him alone. He kept coming to me.
No, you were confrontational. You corrected him.
In the beginning, yes.
In the beginning,
okay.
At all. All right, now, I'm going to ask you the same question,
yes,
sir.
Your Honor.
Just listen to me. You've described conduct to me on the part of Miss Nance that appears to be a little bit nutty.
Yes.
Right? I mean, to get so excited about whether a bird is a cockatiel or a cockatoo or a parrot or a chipmunk, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, but you entered into this discourse with this lady, and I don't understand why, being a professional nurse in a psychiatric environment, you didn't just say,
Your Honor.
This is somebody I don't want to deal with.
Like I told you prior, I don't know the woman, do not wish to know the woman in any fashion. I paid many compliments. I don't feel that this woman had to act the way she did to pay a compliment. I don't think my life or any verbal abuse should be there when I make a compliment.
What compliment?
On the bird.
You mean that the bird was a nice cockatiel?
Yes, right. And I have made many compliments. No one has ever tried to take my head off.
All right, listen, I'm ready. Ready?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Phillips, I know that this was an egregious time for you, that it was a very unpleasant day, but not every unpleasant day results in a court suit and should result in taking up time with a court. I don't find that there was any slander that was proven, but don't put your hand down. You talked in your complaint about rape. I didn't hear anything about rape. I heard about messing you up or better watch out. I'm not even sure that that happened. All I can tell you is what I hear from both of you people is that I hope that I am never put in a hospital by my children and have to deal with two people like you. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Excuse, step out.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Blood was spilled the night a bail bondsman caught up with a suspect.
You've been in jail before, you've been arrested before, you've had bond posted before. You know the drill.
Real people. Judge Judy.
As you can see, the lady is an habitual liar.
No, I have nothing to say to an illiterate, ignorant person like him. I don't have time to play games. When I want to play, I play with my grandbabies. I don't have time for him.
Say Thomas Wheelock. Amy claims that when their relationship ended, Thomas stopped making the payments on his car loan, which she co-signed. Thomas says he only stopped when Amy refused to give him the car.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judge, it's number 172 on the calendar in the matter of Bond versus Wheelock. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Vaughn, you were engaged to this gentleman.
Yes, I was.
And have a child together.
Yes.
Now, according to your complaint, you are suing this gentleman because while you were together, you co-signed for a car for him.
Yes.
Big mistake.
Yes, I know.
And when you separated, you took back the car.
Yes, I did. The reason why I took it back was because he was unemployed at the time, and my name is on that insurance and on the car payments.
What about when you separated? You took the car with you initially when you separated.
I took the car the first 2 days, and then her and her mother came over to pick up the car, and I said I would refuse to pay for it if she took it.
That sounds fair.
I took it back because he was unemployed. He didn't make the insurance payments or the car payments that month before because he didn't have a job.
Did you miss a car payment?
No, I did not. Well, because she was paying most of the time for the car.
She was paying it?
Yeah.
For it. Why weren't you paying for it?
Because I'm a bum. Couldn't keep a job for very long, and
Why not?
just had problems.
I mean, that's an interesting comment. Maybe truthful, but you classify yourself as a bum. And you said that with a smile on your face. You think that's right?
No.
Well, Mr. Wheelock, you know, I read your answer, sir. I'll get to the car in a second. I read your answer, sir, and your answer complains of lack of visitation with your son.
Mm-hmm.
And you hope that at least I can, in some small measure, resolve the issue of visitation with your son.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I want to expose a 2-year-old child to a bum?
Can I tell you that?
Well, you're the child's father. If you can't tell me that, who do you think can?
That I don't deserve to see him.
Then I don't have to entertain your counterclaim.
Okay.
Are you being honest with me, sir?
Yes.
That takes care of that. That's an easy one. Miss Bourne, you have the car.
Yes.
You took the car back shortly after you separated.
Yes.
Then you have to sell it. I don't know what you're complaining about here.
I took it back because he wasn't making the payments. Why should I make the payments when he has the car?
You're absolutely right. You should have sold it immediately.
I've been
Meanwhile,
trying to.
It's been sitting in your garage.
Yes, I've been trying to. In May, a month after we broke up, I put it in an ad. I did not get any responses. I've gone down to 6,000 in another ad. Gotten some calls, but no offers yet. I've been trying my hardest. I don't know what else to do.
Mr. Wheelock, you want to say anything to me? Huh?
About what?
About this whole process.
I think it's a joke.
Why?
Because, I mean, either way, I have nothing to gain or lose.
But do you feel as if you have any responsibility at all towards helping to make up the deficit in what the car will sell for?
Your Honor, I told her that if she gave me the car, I'd be happy to pay for it.
Do you have a job now?
Yes, I do.
Who do you live with?
I live with my parents at the current time.
Do you help support your son?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Because I haven't been able to.
Well, if you haven't been able to help support your son, how are you going to pay for a car?
I just got this job. I was only making $7 an hour at the other job, and all of it went to rent.
To your parents?
No. I was living with my friends. It's kind of a confusing situation. Moved into my friend's house, and I was paying $450 a month for rent, and that's most of my paycheck.
So that you moved back to your parents' house?
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is a no-win situation. It's really a no-win situation. And I want you to think that there's really a much larger picture here, and the much larger picture here is that you two people, when you were still children, had a baby. Now, I don't know why you, sir, refer to yourself in such derogatory terms. I know you say that with a smile, but I attribute that to nervousness.
Actually, not really. I have a 2-year-old son, and I spend over $450 sleeping on my friend's floor for rent. I'm a bum.
Well, you made some misjudgments in your life. But this child is only going to have one father. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I have to straighten up because I have a child. And you never know, it may be the only child you'll ever have. But you're his father. And it's a very bad thing for a child to feel abandoned by a parent.
Yes, I've given him rights to see him. We've set up every Wednesday for him to come see him when he was living with his friends. And half the time he didn't show up. That's one of the reasons why I gave up, because I'd be sitting there waiting for him to show, and he just didn't make the effort to make it.
Why not, Mr. Wheeler?
I didn't want to get into this, but how do I say this? I've been afraid for myself and for my son every time I'm with her.
Why is that?
Because she's hurt me and she's hurt Brandon when I'm around. That's why we broke up.
How she hurt him?
She's throwing him through the air onto a bed. She threw a can towards him, did not hit him. She left him outside my parents' house when it was raining, and then she drove off, and that was her game. I mean, if it hurt me, that's what she wanted to do.
Did that ever happen?
No.
Your Honor, if we could continue this another day, I can get the 911 tape.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If he feels as if you made no effort to see him, it lends to a feeling of worthlessness to a child. They feel I'm not even a worthwhile enough person for my own father to come to see me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 20-year-old Amy Bond is suing her former fiancé, Thomas Wheelock, because she says he stopped making the payments on a car loan which she co-signed. Thomas says he only stopped when Amy refused to give him the car.
Just tell me what your side of the story is. I'm a pretty good judge of the truth of things.
She would, for the first 3 months that we split up, she had this attitude that she didn't want Brandon. So she'd always tell me, sending me pager messages, that she didn't want him. And then she'd leave him.
Listen.
And if I can get a letter from my parents, they would tell you that, but they're just afraid they won't be able to see Brandon anymore.
If you made a mistake with each other, put a period at the end of that and say, I have to move on with my life, but this was a mistake. We were 20 years old. 20 years old, you're still babies. You have a child. You have to act responsibly towards the child. If you made a mistake in picking him, and if you made a mistake in picking her as the mother of your child and he is the father of your child, that's not the baby's fault. You, sir, have a responsibility to see your child. And that doesn't mean in a controlled environment. Does he have a drug problem?
No.
He just has a keeping a job problem, right?
And keeping promises. If he says he's going to show up to see his son, I expect him to be there.
Well, when you say see his son, I assume you don't mean seeing him in your home.
No, I go to when he was living with his friends, we went to his parents' house, a mutual place. His parents...
You mean to just drop the child off?
I would stay there.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, Ms. Bond, we're going to talk about that. I mean, I'm not interested in this car. This car is in your possession. You're going to have to sell this car, and if you have a loss and then you want to refile your case about the car, that's your prerogative. But you can't have the car and the money, too. Do you understand?
Yes.
Fine. But let's get back to this baby, because while the car is important, it's not half as important as the two of you and how you're going to interact with this child. Ms. Bond, you just said to me, I don't know why I stay there when he has visitation. You should not be there. You two people clearly don't like each other anymore. I don't think that there's open hostility, perhaps. I don't see that, but there might be. He should have an opportunity, unless there's some reason of drugs, alcohol, some kind of chemical dependency that might place the child at risk, he should have an opportunity to spend time with his child with you not present. He's the father. And maybe if he felt better about himself, taking some responsibility time-wise with his child, maybe he wouldn't think he's such a bum. And you may be, sir, just that. But you have a responsibility when it comes to visiting your child, because that's right for your son. Quite frankly, I don't give two hoots for the two of you. You made the mistake. But by compounding that, it seems to me you're going to hurt this child, because as he gets older, he's going to wonder where his father is. And all he's got to figure is that you made it difficult for his father to see him, then he's going to be angry with you, right?
Yeah.
And if he feels as if you made no effort to see him, he's not only going to be angry with you, but it lends to a feeling of worthlessness to a child. They feel I'm not even a worthwhile enough person for my own father to come to see me. Think that's fair?
No.
He's the innocent. As young as you are, did a very grown-up thing by making a baby, and it's your responsibility to see to it that this child does not grow up with a feeling of worthlessness because his own father doesn't want to see him. Take care of it.
Now, what about the loss of the car that I've already incurred already?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today...
Come on! Get it together, Mr. Bassett.
That's the truth.
You think I have stupid written over here?
No, I don't, Mel.
Good.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right. You have a $2,000 bill from the time you separated until this time, and I'm going to give you that. But that's all you're getting because you have to either give the car back to him or you have to sell it, and whatever loss there is, it'll be absorbed. At that point, you do not have an anticipatory loss. You have a loss that you can put a number on. I have a $3,000 loss. Now I feel as if you have to contribute to that. But Ms. Bourne, he says that if you give him back the car, he will assume the payments for it. So that's what I think that you should do. Give him back the car. Mr. Wheelock, for a 20-year-old guy to say I'm a bum is a terrible thing. I don't know what kind of upbringing you had, but as a parent, if your parents permitted you to grow up to your age thinking that you're a bum, that they didn't do a terrific job, you better do a better job with your son. Because if you think you're a bum, unless you do something positive right now with a child that's 2 years old, your son will grow up thinking the same thing about himself, because that's what happens, and that's not fair. You don't seem as if you're a stupid young man. You've done some stupid things. So shape up, and when he has visitation, you don't have to be there, because that's control, and that's not fair. You're each parents, but you both have to act responsibly, and you better start paying some child support, sir. Now. That's all.
Excuse me, step out. Back onto your records.
And now the next case.
Parties on Stevenson versus Bassett. Step forward, please.
20-year-old Melissa Stevenson says her ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Grant Bassett, didn't pay her the money she loaned him to purchase a car. Grant claims Melissa was not his girlfriend, and the money for the car was a gift.
You two folks were an item, dated, were romantically involved. Do you claim you lent him money for a truck? Is that right?
That is correct.
No. We were not romantically involved.
Just a second.
Couple.
She claims that you were romantically involved as a couple, and she lent you money for a truck, which you bought. You say she gave you an old truck of hers, and it was a loan.
Yes, ma'am.
And it got towed.
Yes, ma'am.
So, those are two diametrically opposed stories. Let's hear about it, Miss Stevenson.
Grant and I were friends and dating for 4 months. Grant had decided to take a job out of state in Arizona, and I was all for him doing that because it was a career advancement, and he did not have a vehicle, so he had no way of getting there. So we had batted back and forth the idea of me loaning him the money to purchase a truck. And he looked through the auto trader and he found what he wanted, and I came down with a Visa check, you know how you can draw money off your account, and we were going to go purchase this truck. What happened is they wouldn't take the check, they wanted cash, so I went in, got a cash advance off my credit card for $3,500, and we purchased the truck.
Go ahead.
So Grant leaves for Arizona, takes the truck with him, and we had a verbal agreement that he would make double payments on whatever my minimum balance was on the credit card. So first month goes by, I get a couple checks in the mail. I was, oh great, I can pay my payment. I was happy about that. And the next month rolls by, we talked on the phone, and I said, are you going to send me some money this month? And he was having trouble paying his bills, and he stopped sending me any money. Pretty much every month I called him, send me $50, send me something so I can pay my credit card bill. I'm a struggling student trying to pay my bills here too. Nothing came of that. No money was sent. I kept on him, and...
That's it? That's where we are right now?
Basically, yes.
All right, Mr. Bassett.
Okay. What happened is I left for Arizona, And Melissa had a truck, so she lent me her truck because I was going to move out of state. I did not want to purchase another vehicle in California and have to move to Arizona, reside, have to pay the registration fees. So my first 2 weeks in the academy, I bought a vehicle. So her vehicle sat at the apartment that me and my partner were sharing, and it wasn't registered. Wasn't registered in either one of our names. We could not re-register it. They couldn't pass smog. The axles were bent, so it got towed away.
Mr. Bassett, you just told me a story that is totally different from hers. You understand
Yes, Your Honor. I was never there during the transaction. I don't know where she got the money. I don't know where she got the vehicle.
Can I see your transactions, please?
Sure. Your Honor, I have some other things that will help verify my story. Grant was about to move back from Arizona, and I called him up. I said, listen, you know, we're friends. Why would you do this to me? I want some proof that you're going to pay me back when you can. And I said, would you be willing to sign a contract stating you owe me the money? And he said, yeah, you know, I'm your friend. I'll do that. I just jotted down that he did owe me the money, that he had given me a payment already on it, and that he would have to pay. You know, I was getting really frustrated by this time. I had been paying on it for over a year and paying interest, 18% on my credit card. That's ridiculous.
Show him this, please. Ask him. Mr. Bassett, is that your signature on that loan agreement?
Yes, Your Honor, it is. And if you notice, their coincidence just happened to be on my birthday.
Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah.
Is that your signature?
Exactly. That was happy birthday.
I didn't know it was his birthday.
You signed that?
Yes.
So?
So she showed up on my birthday. All my friends were there, so I had to sign it just to get her out of there.
Get out of here. Give this to me.
Your Honor?
Get out, just a second. Am I correct that you went to Arizona in order to become a police officer?
Yes, that's correct.
Corrections officer in a jail.
Just a second. Being a corrections officer, similar as far as I'm concerned to being a police officer.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to be able to rely on what you say to me, Mr. Bassett. You don't sign something like this and then come and tell me this grandma story that it was your birthday and you just signed anything. Come on. Get it together, Mr. Bassett.
That's the truth.
You think I have stupid written over here?
No, I don't, ma'am.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The balance of the loan is how much, madam?
About a little over $4,900.
All right. Let me tell you what I have, sir. Let me tell you what proof I have today. Aside from just hearing these two stories, which, you know, could be written from two different novels, I have proof that she withdrew the money from the bank. I have the fact that there was a car or a truck. And I have a signed statement from you with a signature that I have compared to your signature on your answer, and also you acknowledge that you signed that you owe her the money. That's the proof I have. Right?
Yes.
Stands up to me. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He never came up with the car or the money, so he must have gotten a new vehicle with my truck.
Jason Hager to pay the damage caused to his pickup truck after clubbing it. Jason claims it was self-defense.
Order. All rise. Judge, number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Hager. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Shame on you both. Always strikes me is when two adult men get into a car and get into a contest and let their testosterone take off and rule their heads, there's trouble, especially when there's a child in the car, like this gorgeous little blonde thing. Mr. Miller, you're suing Mr. Hager because you say that after some sort of a dispute in your car, he was driving his, you yours, he attacked your car with a club.
Yes.
And caused almost $400 worth of damage to the car. Tell me how it started, sir.
I was making a turn off of Valley View Street. I was going south. There's a frontal road there beside of it. Hager was coming, going south also on it. He run the stop sign. And as a result of it, I almost hit him. If I hadn't stopped, I would have hit him. I blew my horn. He raised his finger at me, and we proceeded down the frontal road.
So you're both now going in the same direction?
We're both going in the same direction.
And this is your grandchild?
Yes.
She was in the car with you?
Yes.
Where was she sitting, front or back?
Well, it was a pickup, so she's in the front.
Right next to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We came to an alley that runs down behind a shopping mall, and we proceeded down it, and we got to the end of the stores.
Which car was first and which car was second?
He was following me.
Just a second. His car was first, your car was second.
Yes.
Were you following him, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I was behind him. I mean,
were you following?
I'm going in that direction.
He was chasing me.
Shh, just a second. I'm going to get to you in a second, sir. You said you got to an alley.
Well, it's an alley, and it's also behind the store, but it's a parking lot also.
Well, were you going into that parking lot, sir?
No, I wasn't going into the parking lot.
So you were actually not behind him. You were following him.
Okay, I was following him.
Now, why were you following him?
So I could get his tag number.
Okay. And then what happened?
As we got to the end of the stores, there's also another small frontal road that leads to the front of the stores. He partially made the turn and stopped, jumped out, grabbed his club, and ran at me while I'm stopped. I had, in the meantime, stopped. He ran about 30 feet towards my truck, ran up to the side of me, took a swing at me. I pulled my truck forward, and he hit the back of my cab.
Can I see the damage to your car?
If you'll notice, Your Honor, the damage is at an angle as if he was swinging something, and you'll see that it's also right in line with me in the truck. So if I hadn't pulled forward, he would have hit me in the truck.
This has an open top, sir?
No, it's you looking at. May I get it to you? Oh, come on, surely. I take better pictures than that.
I got it. I got it now. Oh, I thought it was a convertible truck. I hadn't seen one of those. All right. Now I got it. All right, Mr. Hager, let's hear you, sir.
Well, what he said is correct as far as he was following me. I was very close to my home. I didn't want him, I wasn't going to go home knowing he was following me. I became fearful, wasn't sure what I should do. So yeah, I stopped, and in an attempt to defend myself, knowing that not knowing what he's going to do, I did take my club. He sees me stop. He's coming at me. He puts his head out the window of his truck and says, "I'm going to run you over." That's when he started to come at me with the truck. I jump out of the way, and he backs up a little bit and comes at me again. The second time is when he came close enough to me that I could swing and hit the truck.
All right, so I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hager. You live in that area, sir?
Yes. I was less than a block away from my home.
And how long have you lived there?
About 18 months.
So you know where the local police precinct is?
Actually, I found it after this.
You mean you didn't know before?
No. Well, it's a very large city. I wasn't sure where to go.
I don't believe you, sir. You see, I see this. You see, I see this around here.
Well,
and I'm like a truth machine. So don't tell me that you didn't know where to find a policeman.
I went to. Well, no, that would have been the alternative. Was drive around.
That's an alternative rather than getting out of your car with a club.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem to me to be logical, sir, that if you're in fear of your life, you are defending yourself against a 2-ton truck with a 2-pound club.
Right.
You see, that doesn't make sense. To me, what makes sense is if you're in fear, you stay in your car. What kind of a car were you driving?
A Camaro.
So you stay in your Camaro and you drive around until you see a police car, if you don't know where the local police precinct is.
Right.
Right.
But I thought of that after, but in the fear, I wasn't thinking
Why
that
were you
logically.
in fear? Listen to me, Mr. Hager. Why were you in fear, sir? You were in your car, windows closed, right? Windows closed.
No.
You could have closed the windows, Mr. Hager, right? You do have
yes.
electric windows in your Camaro?
Yes.
So you press a button, you close the window, and you keep driving, and you say to yourself, I got some nut here behind me. I'm not going to get out of this car. I'm going to stay in my car. But you get out of your car. Where was the club?
On the passenger seat.
You pick up the club, and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Wonder how afraid he was when he stuck his finger up. Could we ask him that question?
And later today,
Make me look like a liar. Make me look bad when you know you was stripping and you know you was working, Nicole. Don't stand there and lie.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bird Miller says Jason Hager's gesture led to violence, smashing Bird's pickup.
You pick up the club and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager. It doesn't, it's illogical, sir.
To drive around looking for the police, I needed to, at some point, decide I'm going to stop and defend myself. That was it.
Defend yourself against what, sir?
This gentleman.
He's in his car.
I don't know that he's going to threaten to run me over. I think he's going to get out.
How can he run you over in your Camaro, sir? Sitting in your car, how can he run you over, Mr. Hager?
He can't.
Right. Sitting in your car, he can't run you over. Only when you're outside of your car, standing there armed with a weapon, can he run you over. Your mistake was getting out of the car. And then you hit his truck. So you were in a combat posture with a weapon. I mean, I'm not suggesting that what this man did was correct. I think, Mr. Miller, to be quite honest with you, sir, you're old enough to use your brains, and if this guy ran a stop sign, as you say, of course, you didn't run the stop sign. Is that correct?
Correct.
I knew that. I knew that's what you would say. But you have a very precious cargo. Not you, her. And so if you have a very precious cargo, and if you were fortunate enough, and God was watching you, and you didn't have an accident at that stop sign, you take a deep breath, and you say, phew, finished. I'm grateful that there was no accident, and you keep going. If you can get his license, that's fine. But to follow him into an alley is not swift.
It's really not an alley, Your Honor. I understand what you're saying, but
you understand what I'm saying.
I don't mean it's a, you know.
I understand, but you got hot.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I'm not denying it at all.
Yeah, well, you want to get hot with you alone in the car. That's one thing, but you don't get hot when you have a baby in the car, especially a baby that looks like that.
Could I add something to this?
Sure, sir.
Okay. He said I almost hit him there at stop sign. If you look at the pictures, you will see there's a medium between Valley View and where he would have been sitting. So, in other words, I would have had to jump across the medium in order to hit him.
Interesting, not terribly relevant, because we're not talking about what happened at the stop sign. What we're talking about was Mr. Hager's. You both exercised poor judgment on that day, in my view. But Mr. Hager's judgment is going to cost him the amount that you claim you spent or will spend to fix your car, and I assume you have a bill for that.
Your Honor, I have a bill for the damage. I don't have a bill for a rental car. It'll take 3 days to fix the truck, which is $25 a day.
Well, Mr. Miller, for your bad judgment, it's going to cost you to rent your car.
All right.
For his bad judgment, it's going to cost him to fix your car. And the grand total here is $279.80 to fix your car. Mr. Hager, it was a very dumb thing that you did, because he may not have been the kind of person that he is, and he may have, in fact, run you over. And
I'm sure of that.
And your 2-pound club wasn't going to help you. So,
well, you know, my question is, if he cares enough about this truck to get it fixed, why is he chasing people and threatening them with it?
Mr. Hager, he wasn't smart to try to chase you to get your plate number, and I assume that that's what he was trying to do. He did not get out of his cab. You got out of your car. Dumb. Stupid. And not only did you get out of your car, you got out of your car with a weapon. So it's going to cost you. The amount it's going to cost you is the amount that it's going to cost to fix his car. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Thank you, Joe. Out the back door to your right, please.
Come on.
And now the next case.
Parties on Cruz. Ambrosini versus Hernandez. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend Moses Cruz claim exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez owes them a refund on a condo.
You folks were living in the same hotel that the defendant was living in temporarily. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you became friends?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Well, we didn't become friends there. We became friends at work.
Okay. Don't tell. And there came a time when you were going to buy a condo. Is that right?
Yes.
And you approached the defendants to see if they wanted to rent a room in your condo that you were purchasing.
Exactly.
According to these papers, you said yes?
Yes.
And you needed some money.
Exactly.
How much money did you need?
$700.
And as sort of a down payment on their room, you gave her the $700?
Correction, Your Honor, that was $750. I have 2 contracts here signing. I had to pay a $500 first month and a $250 security deposit.
Okay, can I see what you have there,
Yes,
please?
ma'am. These are 2 pieces of evidence that I have, 2 contracts that Lisette signed herself.
Okay, fine. So let's assume it was $750. This is some contract.
I was in a rush, Your Honor. Grabbed the first thing I could. The next one's better.
Okay. And then, for some reason, which I'm sure that you will tell me, you decided not to move into the condo, and she gave you back $100, according to these papers. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
And you want the other $650?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
I'm
okay?
sorry, I'm 16
And I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000, and she know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend Moses Cruz want the money back on a condo from exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez. Lisette says they moved out without giving notice.
Well, there came a time, I gather from these papers, that you moved out of the hotel but did not move right into the condo.
Right, Your Honor.
Where did you move?
Okay, at that time, we needed
This
a
is your
place.
boyfriend?
Yes, this is my boyfriend, Moses. We were looking for another location to live while we were waiting for the condo. We were going to just stay in the hotel. It was very expensive, so Lisette kindly offered us to stay in her boyfriend's house and pay $100 a week. We did that, and we stayed there for about 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, and we paid him for every week. At that time, we were told that she needed the money immediately, and we gave that money to her within 3 days because she had said she had a closing to meet. And it would
Closing on the condo.
Yes.
I understand that.
She said it would be about a month to get it, okay? So in our minds, we're thinking, okay, we only have to tough this out for about a month. We wound up not getting a condo or not moving into a place for 3 months. We were waiting to move in for 3 months.
Just a minute.
For 3 months, Your Honor.
Did you stay in the boyfriend's house for 3 months?
Yes. No, we did not. We stayed in the boyfriend's house for about 3 weeks. The other times we were staying at the hotel, and then my father was moving out of his apartment, and he was moving out half of the month early. So
you moved someplace else.
Yes. Right.
But there came a time when you ultimately said to her, I don't want to move
Yes.
in.
Right.
And when was that?
That was in, I guess, February, March, April.
How much
April.
after you had left the hotel and moved into the boyfriend's house did you tell her, I want my money back, I don't want to move in?
About a month.
That's a lie.
Okay, you tell me.
That's a lie. It was one day. Okay, this is what happened. When they moved into the apartment with my boyfriend, with me and my boyfriend, they was paying $100 a week, which is true. Okay, now, when they was moving out, I didn't know they was moving out. My boyfriend tells me one day, Lisette, do you know that they moving out? I said, what? He said, yeah, they moving out. I said, no, I don't know nothing about it. He said, well, I'm getting ready to leave, so when I leave, you talk to them and ask them. When I came to you and asked her, I said, Nicole, y'all moving out? She said, yeah, we moving out. My father left me. Wait a minute. My father left me. My father left me an apartment, and I'm going to move into it, and we're going to keep paying the rent there or whatever to stay there. I said to her, so what do you expect me to do? You expect me to take the money right now and just give it to you when I don't have it? You know I'm trying to get this condominium, and I don't have the money right now to give to you. Okay, but before that happened, one day we had went out, or we was working or whatever. She was waitressing, and I was working in the place where we was working at. I made $4,000 that day, and I said to Nicole, I said, here, you know, I gave her like $1,200 to help her out or whatever. I never asked her for the money back. I never said nothing to her.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Your Honor,
that's exactly what it was, $1,200.
Miss Hernandez, I'm going to simplify this. I've just, while you've been telling me this whole story, been looking at these two papers. These two papers, I assume that you recall signing. Is that right?
Right, and I agreed to pay her back the money. I did.
Okay, so you
and
signed
I told her that I would pay for it as soon as I'd be able to get the money.
You signed the contract. So you owe her the money.
Right.
How much did you pay her back?
$100.
So you owe her $650.
Right, but she moved to Texas. But how did she expect me? I live in Florida. She lives, hold up. She gave me an address and expects me to make her money order every week and send her $50.
She said she would do
stamp
that.
and everything.
Moses.
I said to her, let me finish.
sorry,
They said they will come back to they was moving back to Florida, whatever.
Miss Hernandez.
She said that.
Moses. You got to train him better.
I try, Your Honor, I try.
You got to try harder. If you don't do it now, it'll be too late. Do you understand?
Yeah.
They get into bad habits.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Hernandez, you owe her the $650.
Right.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $650.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I wanted to make this easier for you, but in that time that I was struggling, trying to get money back, broke, Lisette wasn't paying us, my mother, who is a witness here today, sent me $300. I was living independently at the time.
What are you lecturing about? Just a second. What are you lecturing about? You sued for $650. I gave you $650.
Okay.
Say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nerves.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm a dancer, number one. She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
I'm
okay?
sorry, I'm 16
And I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000 and she know that.
We won, we have our money, it doesn't money.
And you're still a little liar. Okay, you're still a little liar. And
Better
you got
than
your
being a
mom.
prostitute.
She's a bigger prostitute.
Sole winner.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 301 on the calendar in the matter of Peraza versus Barraza. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Ma'am.
You two gals are real good friends. You went to some sort of an event, which you're going to tell me about. One of the things that happened at that event was that there was a door prize of a brand new Jeep automobile. Right?
Correct. Yes.
She won. You think that you should get half. Right?
No. Not exactly.
Well,
I think we both won.
You think you both won, and she claimed the prize.
Yeah, she ended up going behind the back and claiming the prize.
All right, let's start from the beginning. What kind of an event was this?
It was just an event from a radio station and Taco Bell. It was just a concert.
Slowly.
It was just a concert. It was just a concert where these rappers are going to be there or something like that.
You, according to your complaint, got the concert tickets and asked her if she wanted to go.
No. She got the concert tickets.
She got the tickets.
Yeah, and she asked me if I wanted to go.
Okay.
And I agreed, and we went, and at the door, they asked us if we wanted to gamble, and we said yes, and they gave us $500 fake dollars each.
Did you have to pay for that?
No. No, they just asked us at the front, if you wanted to gamble, you got $500. If you didn't, well, you didn't gamble.
So it was like Monopoly money.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay.
And after that, she asked me, I mean, I was there with her the whole time, but then she asked me if she could gamble my money, and I said, sure, go ahead, you know, and she's like...
You weren't gambling?
No, I was just standing right there, just helping her out. That was about it. She gambled, she got all my money, she gambled it away, and we ended up getting chips for, just chips, regular chips of what you gamble with, in return when you were gambling. So we had to trade those in for tickets. And after that, some guys just came up to us and told us that, oh, they were leaving, they were in a rush, so they came over and they gave us their tickets. They said, here, girls, good luck, and if you guys win, give us a call.
So now you had these whole bunch of tickets, and you threw them in a pot.
We just, yeah.
Who held on to the stubs?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was, she had it in my backpack, so she put it in the backpack. We had a backpack, it was only one, so she put them in there.
And you had a whole bunch of them. How many did you have?
There was probably 50 or probably more. I wouldn't know. We didn't count them. And we just threw them inside the backpack, and it was time for them to call out the tickets. The time came, so we went down there, and they started calling out tickets. We won other prizes. Prior to that, we won something else, and it was time to call out.
What else did you win?
We won a jacket and a backpack. And
what'd you do with that?
One of us kept the backpack, and the other one kept the jacket.
Is that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I guess the time came to win the thing, and we just got the tickets, and she's like, here, you take half, because there was so many of them. We just split them up. She said, you take half, I'll take the other half. And
to look at the numbers as they were calling the numbers.
Yeah, so then after that, they called the number. That was about it. They called.
And you had the ticket. You were holding that ticket.
Yeah, she was holding the ticket.
Okay. Now let me ask you this question. I'll ask you this question. There came a time when you did split up these tickets, right? She held half, and you held half. Tell me about that moment.
As I recall, we just split them up.
Not we split them up. They're in your hands.
Okay, I split them up evenly.
Split them up evenly?
Yes, I just gave her half, and, you know, we both looked at them.
Okay. Am I correct that your reason that was done was because it's too difficult to look at all the numbers as they're calling out the numbers, like in a bingo or something, you know, so that each one of you was looking through half?
Correct.
Right? And your ticket won?
Yeah, they were my tickets. They were all my tickets.
Now, why do you think they were all your tickets?
Because she had given me her $500. I did not ask her if I can play with her $500. She gave them to me. She gave the $500 to me.
How did that come about?
She said, here, take my money. You can gamble with it.
Is that what you said?
No.
No, that's not what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
No, we were gambling. She ended up, she was like down to her last $50, and she just said, can I, oh, let me have your money. And she said, if we would win the Jeep, we would split it up.
I had said that from the guys' tickets. I had the guys' tickets in one hand, and I had my tickets in the other hand. The ones that I had won.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. All the tickets were together in your backpack at one point. Oh, I think that they probably were. All the tickets were together in your backpack.
At one point, I had put them all together, yes.
Right. So at that point, they were all mixed together.
Yes.
Yours and the guys.
Yes.
Right. So there really is no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or the guy's ticket that won.
Exactly.
Well, now at least we got that straight. So it's not in one hand and then the other hand.
But I had told her, out of their tickets that they gave us, actually they gave me the tickets, and I told her out of those tickets, if we win it, we'll split it, because we were friends.
You couldn't tell whether it was their ticket that won.
No, we could not.
You just assumed it was comfortable for you to say it wasn't one of their tickets that won, it was my ticket that won.
I did not say that.
You had no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or one of the guys' tickets that won. Right?
Exactly.
Mike, Tila. Hello?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You speak to this pain in the neck, and a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep.
And later today,
he had
stolen my daughter's clothes before. I also have sex letters where he signed up for sex calls.
Right.
And I have pictures to prove what kind of person he is.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Myra Barraza is suing her former best friend Tina Barraza after they won a new Jeep in a raffle.
I see that you have a tape there. Can you tell me what that tape is of?
This is just the day of the event. Recorded us where we both claimed the prize. We both did go up there and claim the prize. And
For the
said,
Jeep?
Yes.
I want to see it.
Here we go. 607 487. You got it? All right, girl. We're going home with it. Who won the Jeep?
Well, that certainly looks as if, at least at that moment, there was a mutuality that each of you won that prize. So what happened?
I was willing to split with her.
So?
And that's what we were going to do until about a month later. She had called me up, and she had said that she wanted to give it to me. She said, go ahead and have it, in other words.
Where was it?
I hadn't got it yet.
Did you do that?
No, I called her up. There was all this stuff was going on with the Jeep. We didn't know what we were going to do. It was a big old thing about it. We didn't know how we were going to split it up, who was going to pay for tax and license and everything. And we were going to get the confirmation letter. And I called her up and I told her, yes, you could stay with the Jeep. But she had said if she stood with the Jeep, she was going to give me an $8,000 loan. That's how much the car was worth, $16,000.
I did not state that.
And I told her, okay. She said she was going to tell her dad, sell her other car that she had just bought, sell it back, and instead of paying $15,000, she'll just tell her dad to get an $8,000 loan and pay me for it. And I said, okay. We agreed. I never thought anything. I just said, okay. We didn't. It was just a verbal thing. But I did tell her, okay, you could keep the Jeep and
that sounds reasonable because you can't split up the Jeep.
Yeah, and I just said, okay. And I said, you could pay my $8,000, or else we're just going to sell the Jeep, and we're both going to get our half.
She's not. No, she did not say that on the phone. She told me that she wanted me to keep the Jeep. That's what she told me.
What? Of course, that's what she said to you.
Yeah, but she did not specify that she wanted me to give her $8,000.
Well, why would she make you a gift of $8,000? If the Jeep is worth $16,000, why in the world do you think, madam, that she would make you a gift of $8,000, which is half of the Jeep? Why?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, let's go slowly. What word didn't you understand? Why do you think that she would make you a present of $8,000?
She did not say anything about $8,000. I did not hear anything about $8,000 on that telephone call. At that time, I was like happy. I was happy that she given it to me. And I figured that
what are you doing standing up here?
I want to step in for the spot where she called her. She told me through everything that happened. She called me every time they had a conversation. She was asking me, what should I do? What should I do? What do I do about the Jeep? Do I split it in half? Should I sell it? What? I told her, you know what? You won the tickets to that concert. It's your Jeep. You were holding the ticket at the time she won it.
Oh, you're the troublemaker. Sit down. Sit down.
As I was saying, I figured the reason why she said that on the telephone is because she knew that she did not have any part in the ticket winning.
Oh, please, madam. I want to tell you something. I think that your conduct was really outrageous to bring it to this point. First of all, the two of you have been friends. There isn't a question in my mind. What?
9 years.
12 years.
There isn't a question in my mind, after looking at that tape, that at the time that that Jeep was won, the two of you, both of you, I saw her signing papers.
We didn't sign any
Just
paper.
a second.
It was just a back of a flyer. We put down both our names and addresses.
Right. It was the back of a flyer. You both put down your names and addresses as the winners. Right?
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometime you speak to this pain in the neck who says to you, I don't think you have to split it with her at all because it was your ticket, it was in your hand. And a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep because there is no logical reason that I can think of except if you're drinking too much, to think that this lady would call you up and say, I just want to give it to you because you're a very nice person. I care about you.
No.
Please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
That's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude did it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Myra Peraza and her former best friend, Tina Peraza, won a new Jeep in a raffle. But Myra says Tina is refusing to share.
Listen to me. Bottom line is, the maximum jurisdiction in this court is $5,000.
I know.
You understand that?
Yeah, I know.
Right? Now, she claimed this prize. I assume you went and claimed the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct. She told me to do what's right, and that's what I thought was right.
Yeah, she just went off this one day. I'd spoken to her the weekend before she did this. I'd spoken to her the whole week when she went off to the radio station and had a cashier's check with her parents. And she did this on Friday. I spoke to her Friday and Saturday. She told me nothing. I told her, what's going on? She said, nothing. I haven't spoken to them. I haven't heard of anything.
Miss Peraza, your friendship's over.
I know that.
And based upon what I've heard, that's probably the right thing to happen.
Yeah, I know.
Because she's not a very trustworthy person. Now, she claimed the Jeep. She's going to have to pay the taxes on it. But I'm awarding you $5,000, which is the maximum that I can. My grandmother used to say, if you do the right thing happens. If you do the wrong thing, eventually it's going to catch up with you. What you did was pretty sneaky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Hey, you got your Jeep. You got her money.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Just to reiterate what Judge Judy said, bad things, it all comes back to people or whatever. It's going to come back to her because I did what I thought was right, and in God I trust that I did what's right, and I think it's going to come back to her what she did because she was wrong, not me. She's lucky for even being there. She's lucky for even being at the event. I don't see that she deserves half. I won the tickets to go to the event, and she was even lucky that I took her.
You got your $5,000
Yeah,
you wanted.
I did.
So now you can shut up.
Yeah, you too.
You had nothing to do with this.
And now the next case.
Parties on Anderson versus Rankin. Step forward, please.
Margaret Anderson is suing her tenant, Tim Rankin, claiming he made phone calls to 900 numbers totaling more than $1,000.
All right, Mr. Rankin. You rented a room from the plaintiff.
That's correct.
And I believe that you will agree, based upon what doesn't seem to be in dispute, that when you moved in, you wanted a telephone in your room.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
She offered to put the phone.
Because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
I owed a past due bill on the Pacific bill.
So the answer to my question is yes. You couldn't get the phone in your name.
Correct.
I knew we'd get there, Bird.
Take your time, Judge.
So she said, okay.
Yes.
Are you nervous?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
I could tell you were nervous. She said, okay, you put the phone in your room, and within a relatively short period of time, you got a bill.
Yep.
And how much was that bill for?
$1,059.
For a 1 month period?
2 months period.
2 months. And you say I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, Your Honor.
Is the phone in your room?
Yes, it is.
You think she did it?
I doubt it.
Look at this lady. Look, I just want you to look at her. You think she went into your room and made the calls?
I doubt it.
Somebody's got to pay the bill.
That's right.
Now, you want to try to explain to me in 100 words or less why it shouldn't be you?
In 100 words or less, I don't know if I can do it in 100 words or less, but I believe that the other tenant that was living there made those phone calls.
So?
So, and there's a reason behind why I think he made those phone calls.
I'll hear you.
Okay, well, the former tenant and her had a limousine business. She put up $27,000 for a limousine. Somehow I was drawn into the middle of that. Their business relationship didn't work out from the get-go. They were screaming and yelling every night there. And because I didn't take his side in the limousine business, he started to have an attitude against me. Eventually, I had to throw him in jail for assault on me at the lady's house. The following day, her and I went down and put restraining orders on him. At that point, I believe he went in my room. He wanted me out of that house no matter what. No matter what the cost, so he could work on her by himself. I believe that he went into my room and made a bunch of phone calls, information phone calls. I'm not sure what exactly they were. Psychic, maybe. I don't know what kind of phone calls they were.
Psychic hotline calls? Is that what they were?
900 sex calls.
Sex calls.
Sex calls. Okay.
Okay. So that's your defense. You know, we used to call that, when I was sitting judge in Manhattan, somebody once told me that that's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude
done it.
Did it. Did you ever hear that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Rankin, let's keep this simple, sir. Somebody's got to pay this bill. The phone is in your room. If the phone had been in your room and been in your name, you would have had to have paid the phone bill. And then if you felt that somebody in an unauthorized fashion used your phone, you would go and sue them, right?
That's correct.
But you don't say to the telephone company, listen, Ma Belle, I didn't make the phone calls from my phone. Somebody else did it. You pay the bill, and then you pursue whatever other remedies you have. You are responsible to safeguard the phone in your room. Not her. She was doing you a favor. Why should she be out $1,059? Is there any reason?
No, there's not a reason
Good.
she should be out.
Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,059.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Everybody's not like Tim. There is nice people out there. I went ballistic. Yeah, I was very, very surprised, shocked, mad, angry, really, really upset.
He had stolen my daughter's clothes before. I also have sex letters where he signed up for sex calls.
Right.
And I have pictures to prove what kind of person he is.
I was used and abused.
Newman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Nunez, you are the owner of a secondhand shop, consignment shop.
Yes, I am.
And according to your complaint, Mr. and Mrs. Newman came into your store with some children's things, some clothes and some baby's equipment. You told them to leave it there and you would price it for them. Is that right?
That's right.
And there was an unfortunate incident, but you will tell me they were dissatisfied, and you claim as a result of their being dissatisfied with the events that occurred in your store, they have been slandering, defaming you, causing damage to your property, and you want to be compensated. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So let me hear about when the Newmans came in, what they brought, and what brought about their dissatisfaction with your business.
Okay. On November 28, 1998, the defendants brought in 4 large bags of clothing, a stroller, what's called an exerciser, what a baby sits in and plays around in, and a swing. They wanted me to purchase them from them. I told them it would take a little while to price everything. I had to go through everything to make sure it wasn't stained or ripped. We had a very busy weekend that weekend, and the next day I told her that I had phoned her and told her that I wasn't able to get it done. So I ended up bringing all the stuff home and was going to do it during the evening. because I work a day job. On Saturday, December 5th, I called the defendant's home and spoke to Mr. Newman and offered him $250 for everything. He seemed very upset with that price and said that he wanted $400. I explained to him that if I put it on consignment, he could get that money. It would just take longer to get it. Whereas if I paid him $250, he would get it right away. Mr. Newman said he would discuss it with his wife and then would call me back. The next day, on the 6th, Mr. and Mrs. Newman came in with their little boy to the store to get their belongings. It turned out the exerciser that they had brought in was missing. I called my employee at home, and after describing it to her, she said that she remembers selling it during the week. She stated that she sold it for $15.99. I apologized to the Newmans. I offered them $30 as compensation for it.
I want you to try to be quiet and contain yourself. Don't shake your head. It's distracting to me. You'll have an opportunity to tell your side of the story in a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. The Newmans refused the $30 and said they wanted $80 because that's what it would cost if they bought it new. I explained to them that it was not new. It was in very good condition, but it was not new. Showed them some of our exercisers that we sell, priced from about $14.99 to $24.99. I had told her that if I did buy it from her, I would have bought it for $17 and probably turned around and sold it for $27.99. So I thought that $30 was a very fair offer for her. They refused it. They began getting verbally abusive. I had my 9-year-old daughter in the store. They were scaring her. They had their little boy using foul language. This went on for a matter of about 15 minutes. They wouldn't leave the store. It took a long time to get a hold of the police department. Eventually, the police officers did come, and at that time, when the police officers were on the way, the Newmans finally left the store. But they went in front of my store on the sidewalk and was bad-mouthing the store in front of people walking along the sidewalk.
What did they say?
They were just talking about what a cheater I am and how I was ripping them off.
Okay.
Okay. The police officers came, heard the stories. They told the Newmans that this was a civil matter because they thought it was a criminal matter, and they told them not to come back to my store, not to harass us. They asked them if they would take the $30 as compensation, to which they did agree. And at that point, we thought things were done and over with.
So they did, in fact, take the $30?
Yes, they did.
Okay, for the exerciser, and you returned other property to them.
Right.
Go ahead.
On approximately December 7th, the day after this incident, my store started receiving up to 12 phone calls a day, hang-up phone calls a day. This continues on a daily basis. As of yesterday, it was still happening. On December 11th, the owner of a store called Alexandra's Closet, which is also a children's consignment store, came over to me and brought me a flyer and said that several of her customers had brought this flyer in and said that they saw a woman pushing a baby stroller, putting it in mailboxes.
Well, first of all, that's hearsay.
Okay.
Neither of the Newmans was identified as this.
No, they just described it as a woman pushing a baby stroller.
You have that flyer?
Yes, I do.
So that I can see it. Would you show this to the defendants, please? Are either of you the author of that?
No.
No.
No, never seen it before.
Okay, I'll take it back. Go ahead, Ms. Nunez.
On December 18th, there was another store owner who called me and stated the same thing, that a customer of theirs had brought him this flyer.
Okay, they denied the existence of the flyer. Do you have any proof that the Newmans are the authors of this flyer?
From what is said in the flyer, it sounds exactly what a lot of the things that happened in my store when they were there.
Okay, but you have no proof that it was them?
No, I do not.
Okay. Next.
On January 28th of this year, the defendants were served with a lawsuit. 2 days later, I found nails in the tires of my car. My company car is identified by magnetic signs that say my store's name. There was one nail in each tire. Again, I have no proof that they did that.
So you have no proof that they did that?
Right.
All right, so the one thing remaining are the hang-up phone calls. You have no proof that the Newmans are the authors of this flyer. You have no proof that they, in fact, vandalized your car. Is that right?
That's right.
I assume that where you live, you can get caller ID
I believe
on your
we
phone.
can, yes.
And you say that this has been going on for at least now 3 months, that you've been getting these series of hang-ups. So it would seem to me that you would have done something in order to find out who it was that was calling you. I mean, you don't know it was them.
No, I don't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She began threatening us. In fact, she even said to me, I can settle this whole matter right here, right now with my fist in your mouth. I have your name and your address, and I know where you live, and I'm going to get you.
And later today,
$3,000 worth of pain and suffering is a lot of pain and suffering.
I had 2 knee surgeries.
What does that have to do with him?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Children's clothing store owner Kelly Nunez claims Anna and David Newman made her lose business by harassing and defaming her store.
Okay. Let's see now. You've been very anxious to tell me your side of the story. I'll let you tell me, but tell it to me briefly, please.
The dates are absolutely wrong. All of the dates to begin with are wrong. I don't know if that makes any difference.
It's not terribly important.
We went into her store. The way I found out about her
I don't care how you found out about it. So you brought your stuff into the store. It's
Yes,
clear
we
that
did.
she sold a piece of your property.
Yes, she did.
It's also clear that you accepted $30 from her for that property.
Yes, however, the discrepancy is that she did not want to pay us. When
That
she
what-
got off the phone, I have a police incident report. I physically left the store to go get the police. I stood there and asked her to call the police. For 7 minutes, she had the phone book out and she was pretending to look through it. She began threatening us. In fact, she even said to me, I can settle this whole matter right here, right now with my fist in your mouth. And I said, are you threatening me with physical violence in front of my husband and
I'm standing
and
there
this
with my
other
baby
person?
on my shoulders listening
I
to
said,
Kelly.
you're threatening me with physical violence? And she said, you don't know who you are. And with you just walked in the wrong store, I have so much power. I could sue you over this. I said, I have done nothing wrong. I'm standing here. You owe me money. She said, I'm not going to pay you. It was a mistake. My employees sold it. That's the way it is. It's your word against mine that you were ever even in the store to begin with.
You did, in fact, take the $30
No,
for
no,
the
but we need to clarify that. She did not give us any. We asked her for the money. She said to us, no, I'm not going to give you any money. No one even knows you have that stuff in there. I said, you know, I'll just go to Target. I'll buy it. All right, you can have the receipt and give me the money back. She said, you. Okay?
Listen to me. My question is, did you in fact take $30
Yes,
for
after the police, yes, we did. Yes, we took it.
Okay.
Which was, to us, we were done.
The police
You
said
were
she
finished.
We were
should have
finished. That's all we want to do
Right.
with this person. Never want to step foot in her store or ever even
She
talk
was
to her
saying,
again.
I know where you live, I have your name and your address, and I know where you live, and I'm going to get you. As I headed for the door to call the police myself.
Did you, in fact, call the police?
Yes, I did.
No,
Yes, I
my
did.
wife actually
I
went there.
too.
She physically left the
I
store
left
to the police
store.
department
This verifies
around the
that
corner
I
from
left
Kelly's
the store. This verifies that she did not call the police until after I left.
This does, in fact, say that that she went to the police.
Right, it does.
Shh, shh. Ms. Nunez, this says that she went to the police.
Ma'am, I have the same, another one. It's a incident report of my phone call, and it has the times on there. I did call them.
You may have called them, but she went there.
Right. I couldn't leave my store, ma'am.
Okay, but she actually went there.
That's correct.
Because she would not call the police. I'm sorry.
Okay. In any event, your lawsuit, Ms. Nunez, is grounded on slander, harassment, and damage to property, loss of business. In order to establish that, you have to establish to my satisfaction by a preponderance of the evidence that these people did any of the things that you indicate. And there are 3 things. Hang up phone calls is the first that you mentioned, and you have absolutely no proof it was them. The second thing that you complain about is flyers. These flyers. You have no proof that either Mr. and Mrs. Newman, no proof. That's what you need in court, are either the author of this flyer or in fact distributed it around the neighborhood. And the third thing you complain about is that somebody put nails in your tires. And again, you have no proof that it was these 2 people. Now, it could have been. I don't know. But that's not what you bring to court. You bring to court proof. And with regard to the 3 instances of harassment and vandalism of property, you bring this court no proof. So your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She didn't even get to hear my witness. Oh, our business dropped off considerably December and January and February. We spent a lot of money on flyers and advertising to try to get it back up. And finally it is starting to come back.
Well, I think that Miss Nunez is in the wrong business. With that big piece of fiction she just threw at the judge, I think she should go into writing. I think that might be her forte better than running a business.
I just hope that my store gets its business back and the Newmans stay away from us.
We're glad that Judge Judy is a competent judge and that we were able to come here and have justice served.
And now the next case.
All parties on Sloat versus Nichols. Step forward, please.
34-year-old Carolyn Sloat is suing her former boyfriend, 39-year-old Dana Nichols, for not paying her for a rental car. Dana says Carolyn is jealous that he was dating her cousin.
Ms. Sloat, according to these papers, you've known the defendant for about 16 years.
14.
14 years. And dated for a while, a long time ago, and remained friends. Sometime in the summer of 1987, he had some difficulty and moved into your home as a renter. So far, is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
Also, during that time, he was in need of a car.
Correct.
But you had no credit.
Correct.
I love when you tell me I'm right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Baloney.
You're not going to believe me anyway, so I'm not going to go there with it.
You're
but
absolutely right.
Then I'm not
So
going
don't
to.
go down that street.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carolyn Sloat claims former boyfriend, Dana Nichols, owes her for credit card charges.
You asked her if you could use her credit card in order to secure the insurance and just put it on her credit card. Not the weekly rental of the car, but the initial down payment just to secure the insurance, etc. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's correct.
According to you, he did more than that.
Correct.
And he charged the weekly rental on your card.
He let payments go on my credit card.
Now, did you know about that?
No, I did not. He was giving me some receipts.
Just a second. You knew about it if he was giving you receipts.
He did make, an effort to pay. And he
so
was
there came a
showing me
time,
receipts.
stop, Miss Sloat. There came a time when you found out that he was charging the weekly rental of this car on your credit card.
After several months passed by.
And he was paying for it.
Sometimes.
Now, Miss Sloat, you say that you were only going to use the card to secure the payment.
Correct.
But he did more than that.
Yes.
And initially, he was showing you receipts that he was, in fact, paying for the weekly car payment. Is that right?
He gave me some receipts, yes.
Well, if he gave you some receipts, then you knew that he was using it to pay the weekly car payment. Right?
The amount that went on the credit card, I was unaware because I was not getting my billing statements because he would go to the mail first and always get the
When did he show you these receipts?
After he had made some payments, he would come and give them to me.
But then there came a time you didn't get a bill for a long time, according to you. He was living with you at the time, living in your home.
Mm-hmm. And
you say he owes you money. How much money does he owe on the credit card?
He let $1,460.06 go on the credit card.
Okay. He says he's paid. He's going to show me that later. My question to you is, if he owes you $1,460.06, why are you suing for $5,000?
I filled out and figured out the interest that is on the card, the finance charges, the payments that he did make, and it was $2,061.81 total. There's still $1,441.81 outstanding.
$1,441
is outstanding.
Okay.
And the other $3,000 is just my pain and suffering, the damages due to the loss of credit, standing and time pursuing the debits because it's been a year
What
since
debit?
this happened.
And what pain? $3,000 worth of pain and suffering is a lot of pain and suffering.
To try to, because I also went through surgeries and tried to get the payments from him and get them on time. So
Ms.
that I
Slow,
could
what
pay
kind of
them.
surgeries did you go through to try to get payments from him?
I had 2 knee surgeries.
What does that have to do with him?
Because I was going through a difficult time and trying to get him to pay.
Gotcha. All right. It's enough. Show me.
What would you like to see?
I want to see proof that you made all the payments. Is not an answer. Show me is an answer. Show me. Let's see what you got.
I didn't make all the payments. I'm the first one. I'd be the first one to say I do owe her some money. Once she did say there was some money on the bill, I started making her payments. In fact, I had just made her a payment on September 29th of $350 on this bill. And then 4 days later, I get hit with this $5,000 lawsuit. I have no doubt in my mind I do owe her some money, but $5,000 to me was ridiculous.
$5,000 is ridiculous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
He says he gave you a check for $350. Is that the payment that you made here for $350?
Yes, he did give me a cashier's check of $350. All the others were cash payments.
Okay. Now, did you give him credit for that? That $350 payment?
Yes.
Okay. Show me what you have, sir.
Here's the one for the $350.
She acknowledges $350.
Yes. There's another one here for $150. Actually, $100 that was supposed to go for the rent, but she filed the order of protection on me a few days later, and I was kicked out, and I didn't receive that rent money back, so I feel like it should go.
That was only for rent.
Shh. Why did you keep using this credit card despite the fact that you weren't supposed to?
We discussed the fact back in, would have been the first part of December, her car needed extensive work. I have worked on Carolyn's car many a times.
Your Honor, that is not true.
I told her this time I would have to charge her for this. This literally consists of tearing apart the whole bottom of the motor of the car. We agreed on some payments would go on the credit card.
No, we did not. He is lying.
But, Mr. Nichols, that may be a good excuse. It's not true. If you were going to do work for your friend who was letting you have transportation by using her credit card, it seems to me you would have done it for nothing. And she's not going to tell me that she agreed to let you work off some of this bill by doing work on her cars. That's what the story that you're going to give me?
Well, you're not going to believe me anyway, so I'm not going to go there with it.
You're absolutely right.
Then I'm not going there with it, I guess.
So don't go down that street. Listen to me.
Yes?
Pain and suffering, deal with it. One of the things that you do when you do stupid things, like give somebody your credit card to use, is you have to deal with the pain and suffering. Sir, you owe her $1,441, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,441. Is the car returned?
Yes.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I was hired as a human impersonator to fool her husband.
But when the act got too hot, the hostess canceled the check.
At what point did she handcuff him?
In the beginning.
Judge Judy Justice.
Me and Carolyn's been friends a long time. I'm sure this will pass.
After several things that were wrongfully done to me, I realized that he was not a friend.
I think a lot of it was just jealousy of the relationship me and her cousin have become in with. Over the past few months, we became real good friends. She became like a third party. I think now she has just taken that on her own to go this far.
No jealousies. He is so wrong. No, not the thing.
I'm kind of glad it went the way it was. There was some money owed, and so now it's paid off, and I'm fine with it.
Now, this is case number 489 on the calendar in the matter of Donnie Simon versus Rayburn. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Please.
Who's Simon?
I am, Your Honor.
Miss Donnie.
Yes, ma'am.
I have no idea what you're suing for. Absolutely no idea. I read it again, and I have absolutely no idea what your cause of action is. What I gather is you have some sort of a rock band, and you were invited to stay at the defendant's ranch someplace, and you're suing him for something because he told you to leave the ranch. So, why don't you tell me what you're suing him for?
I'm suing him for lost wages, Your Honor.
What kind of contract did you have with him?
I had an oral agreement.
Well, tell me about it.
The agreement was that my band, the Sons of the Dead, would come up to Carmen's Ponderosa in Apple Valley. We were to perform, and while we were living there, we helped maintain and take care of the main ranch house while we were living in it. This is before Mr. Rayburn moved on to the property with his family.
Well, your agreement was with Mr. Rayburn.
Actually, there is another party to this. His assistant manager, who is Nathan Bass, he is present here today. And after a year of him schmoozing us, we agreed to come up to the ranch.
So you went to live on the ranch?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you, Miss Donnie, and your band go up to his ranch, paying no rent, right?
Yes, paying no rent.
Paying no rent. And what were you supposed to do there?
I assisted Mr. Bass with chores around the place.
Okay, so you assisted. You were living there free, so you assisted with chores. So what are you suing him for?
I'm suing him for the work that he witnessed me performing at the ranch.
Like what?
Like fixing a Charm Glow type of barbecue unit that was in his house.
So you fixed a barbecue. What else?
I maintained his 50,000-gallon swimming pool daily.
Okay.
All summer long for his family, his children.
And what about you? Did you swim in it?
I never did.
And none of your band did either?
Actually, our drummer did.
How much were you supposed to be paid for taking care of his swimming pool?
Free rent.
Shh.
It was never determined in money. It was more an agreement of room and board.
Okay, so you got room.
We got room up until a certain time at which, when he moved his family into the main house,
yes,
we were moved into a ramshackle cabin.
So why didn't you leave?
We were broke. We are broke people. We don't make a lot of income.
But if you don't like the new living arrangement, your choice is to leave, not to sue him.
I understand. I didn't sue him at that time.
So you lived in the ramshackle house, because that was the only place you had to live. I still don't understand your lawsuit, sir. I don't understand your lawsuit. You weren't held there as a prisoner. If you didn't like the terms, you pick up your band and you go home. You didn't have a written contract with them. You were supposed to have free room and board in exchange for playing, living, whatever. The arrangement, because there was no money, it was like a barter. You no longer like the barter, so what you do is you get up and go. You don't stay.
That wasn't possible, Your Honor.
It wasn't possible because you say you had no money.
That is correct.
Well, did you come there with money?
We did come there with money.
How much money did you come with?
Maybe $1,000.
And how long did you stay there?
I stayed there for 6 months.
So in 6 months, the two of you went through $1,000 on whatever.
Food, number one. There was no board provided.
Leave. I don't know what you're here for. You're certainly not going to get rich here. Is that the basis of your lawsuit?
I had brought this matter before the state labor commissioner.
Yes.
There was at that hearing an agreement that he did owe me money.
Just a minute. So how much was the bottom line?
The bottom line was $2,500, as determined by the commissioner.
The bottom line was that he owed you $2,500?
Yes, ma'am.
So what are you doing here?
What I'm doing here is presenting my case that the in return cabin that he moved us into was not a habitable
Did you present that,
cabin.
sir,
I
to the
did not.
State Labor Commission?
I was unable to because I did not have inspections done that I had later.
That's your problem. You had your day in court with regard to your request for wages. You got a ruling, according to you. The ruling was that you and Ms. Downey, I assume, were entitled to $2,500. That's what you say. Is that correct?
That would be for myself.
That's just for you. Ms. Downey was not part of that action. Is that right?
No, it's not.
That is correct.
Okay. So you got an award, if I were to believe you, of $2,500. You're not satisfied with it, so you decided to sue him in small claims court.
Yes, Your Honor.
Forget it. Forget it. You don't get two bites of the apple, sir. You chose your forum. You chose your forum of the State Labor Board. You went there. You got an award for $2,500, according to you. He says not, but you say yes.
I
right?
never collected that money, Your Honor.
Well, then there are mechanisms, sir. You don't go to small claims court and sue for twice the amount. What you do is if you can't, you have to execute on that order. The fact that you didn't collect on it, that's not my problem. You chose your forum.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I don't know what kind of mishigas takes place at this ranch. That's craziness at this ranch. All I know is we live in a free country.
And later today,
she's going to sue me. And if I don't, pay up, then, I'm in trouble.
She's going to sue you.
With court, right.
I mean, she's not going to have you arrested and executed. She said she was going to sue you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Grateful Dead fans Jeanette Doney and Alan Simon claim Ken Rayburn broke their agreement for staying on his ranch.
Mr. Rayburn, did you go to a trial before the State Labor Commission?
Went to a hearing, yes,
You went to a hearing? Was there a financial award made?
No, there wasn't.
What was made?
She gave him a choice. He could either choose to call himself an independent contractor because of the barter arrangement, or, according to her calculations, he owed me $250 to $500. He said, I'll let you know in the next couple of days. The information I got from the commissioner was that she dismissed the case so he could take it to small claims court.
In any event, whether this matter was before another person before or not, and clearly it was, and you didn't like the way that was going, so you decided to do nothing with it, sir, I am not satisfied that you had any kind of an agreement, so I'm dismissing your case. Now, let's start with you. Miss Doney. You're suing him for $5,000. For what?
I'm suing him for $5,000 because I had, after being schmoozed for a year, which included free dinners, hotel rooms, tours of Apple Valley, and an offer to live in an adobe ranch house that was 5 fireplaces with a big swimming pool and all of the trimmings. I was offered that if I brought my band up there, very successful tribute band that in Los Angeles makes a lot of money. I was asked to come up there and perform on weekends. That was all that was asked of me. Now, a couple of weeks into this deal, Mr. Rayburn got into the picture rather than his manager. And the deal started unilaterally changing always to Mr. Rayburn's benefit. Mr. Rayburn had called me a liar over a wedding that I had on his ranch that cost me $1,800, that had just about bankrupted me. He had opened up my mail. He had been coming into my house anytime that he wanted. He had his other people who were coming over there stay at the place. What are you
suing him for? If you
I
didn't
am
like
suing
it?
him because he's filed an unlawful detainer on me. We went to court and he lost. And because he lost...
Unlawful detainer for what?
An unlawful detainer is an eviction. He tried to have me evicted.
From this house?
From the cabin. He filed an eviction from the cabin, and the state of California said, "You lose, Mr. Rayburn."
So what are you suing him for?
I'm suing him for punitive damages because the state of California has in section 1942.5 parentheses F in parentheses 2 point, and I have it right here, Your Honor.
I'm not interested in it. Mr. Rayburn, did you move to evict these 2 people from the ramshackle cottage that they were in?
Yes, I did evict them.
What happened with the eviction?
The court dismissed the case because he said there really is no issue here since they had already moved by the time we got to court.
Okay, so you want punitive damages?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you have a counterclaim. What's your counterclaim for, and was it ever raised before?
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Yeah.
His counterclaim is no good because when he filed the unlawful detainer, that was his day in court. He cannot have a counterclaim. This is my day in court, Your Honor. My day.
What is your counterclaim for, sir?
My counterclaim, Your Honor, is for breach of our oral agreement.
What oral agreement?
The oral agreement was when they moved into the cabin that they would do all the repairs to the cabin. She knew the condition of the cabin.
Mr. Rayburn, don't you think, sir, that it would be wise of you to make sure that you have no further dealings with these 2 people?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to know why, sir? Because if you're smart, you don't do anything that ties the 3 of you together in any way. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
All right. So, I've already dismissed your claim.
That's correct.
I'm dismissing your claim. And I'm dismissing your claim. I don't know what kind of mishigas takes place at this ranch. That's craziness at this ranch. All I know is we live in a free country. If you go up in exchange for room and board, and you take your whole band up to this ranch to play, he moves you into a place that you don't like. You're free people. You take your band and you leave. You, madam, say that you have a very successful band, making a lot of money, and yet your husband tells me that you had a bank account totaling $1,000.
Your
That's
Honor,
a just. Don't speak.
Excuse me for a minute, but we had a date.
Your case is dismissed. Your counterclaim, sir. Take it, put it in your wallet.
I'm going to
Forget
Superior
it.
Court.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step out the back door to your right.
I think they were just squatters looking for a free ride, and justice was served. I think the Honor read right through the whole thing.
I think that she's insightful, and I like moxie in people. and I am taking my case to Superior Court.
And now the next case.
All parties on Melendez versus Zapatero. Step forward, please.
27-year-old truck dispatcher Marlene Melendez is suing former boyfriend, 28-year-old insurance salesman Al Zapatero, for loans during their relationship. Al says it's over and nothing is owed.
Ms. Melendez, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were in a relationship several years ago. While you were in that relationship, the defendant used your credit card, ran up bills, almost $4,000.
That's correct.
And when you separated, you sort of lost track of each other, but ultimately you found him in a bar, right?
Right.
Where he, in fact, gave you, according to you and according to him, $500 on account and signed the note.
That's correct.
Can I see the note?
Sure.
I love notes. They make things so easy. Would you show this to the defendant, please? Is that your handwriting, sir?
Yes, it is.
According to that, you agreed to give her $500 on that date. She acknowledges she received $500 from you. You agreed to give her another $2,500 on specific dates. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
I'm ready.
But it wasn't something that I believe that I should be paying her back because of during our period of relationship, we lived together, and I paid for all the bills in the apartment during the time that we lived together. And a lot of those things on those credit cards, I did pay back because I did sign checks out of my account and send them to the credit card agencies.
You agreed to pay it, sir.
I agreed to pay it, but the night that I signed that piece of paper, I was at a bar watching a prize fight with a couple of friends. She happened to have been there. We had a couple drinks. We were having a good time. She came up. She started saying that she was going to sue me. And I really didn't understand what she was talking about. So she started to get a little more aggressive about it, you know. So I said, let's go outside. And we went outside and talked. I just felt really uncomfortable with the whole situation because I was embarrassed. I had friends in the bar that were waiting for me. You know, she comes out, causes a little scene in the parking lot, you know, making me basically just being aggressive towards me about what I owe her, and she's going to sue me. And if I don't, you know, pay up, then, you know, I'm in trouble.
She's going to sue you.
With court, right.
I mean, she's not going to have you arrested and executed.
No.
She said she was going to sue you.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Ever since we've split up, I've always felt that I really didn't
Whether
owe
you
her
felt is a very soft thing. Felt. You wrote down you owed her money.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Marlene Melendez claims ex-boyfriend Al Zapatero owes her for credit card charges.
You had several choices on that evening. One of the choices that you had when she became, according to you, aggressive in the bar was, listen, I don't want to be involved with this right now. Based upon history, I'm getting in my car, I'm leaving. If you want to sue me, sue me. That was an option. You didn't take that option. Did you have any idea he was going to be there that night?
No, I had no idea. In fact, I didn't approach him earlier because I didn't see him until I was on my way out. He was sitting by the door.
Was this the first time you had told him that he owed you money?
No, we made several arrangements on how those bills would be paid, all of which he failed.
How much after you separated did you meet him at the bar?
A year and a half later.
In that year and a half period, had you tried to contact him about the bills?
Yes, he moved. He didn't leave any forwarded. In fact, I have all of my attempts to locate right here. There's several attempts I made to locate this person. He changed jobs. I had no way of getting a hold of him.
Let me see what you have.
Sure. It's a whole file. I went through DMV several times. I forwarded letters to previous addresses.
Did you have a post office box for a while?
No, I didn't. I've always had an address. That was my business post office box.
So you did, in fact, use a post office box?
For my business purposes.
Okay. Mr. Zapatero, you're an adult. You signed a note. The note says that you agreed to pay her $2,500 You gave her $500 and you agree, and not only that, it indicates in what order and when you're going to pay her that money. It also acknowledges, with her signature, that you in fact gave her $500 that night. Where did you get the $500 from?
I borrowed $200 from a friend of mine, and I got $300 out of an ATM.
Okay, let's just go back to that evening then for a moment. You're standing outside discussing this matter in front of a car. Is that right?
Yes.
And at some point you decide that you're going to give her $500. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't have any money with you.
No.
I assume you went and borrowed $200 from a friend. You did that before you went to the ATM. Is that right?
Of course, yes.
Now, where was the plaintiff when you went inside?
She was outside.
Now, when you came outside, did you offer her the $200?
No, I didn't offer just the $200. I gave her a whole $500. I said I would go to the ATM and get out $300 and give her
How far from this bar was the ATM?
100 yards.
Do you remember your conversation with her?
I would assume I handed her $500 and I said, here's $500 for whatever you say I owe you or whatever you're going to sue me for.
Okay.
Sure, to get her out of my hair, basically.
No, but it went further than that. Then you memorialized the rest of the agreement on this piece of paper, right?
Right, yeah.
You left after signing this note and you began to reflect. I really don't owe her any money. Is that what happened?
Ever since we've split up, I've always felt that I really didn't
Whether
owe
you
her
felt,
any money.
felt is a very
And he
soft
never
thing.
made that known to me.
You wrote down you owed her money.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
So, when you memorialize a debt in a note, what you think, feel, conjure up, reflect on is irrelevant. So before you sign a note that you owe somebody money and a method of payment, you think first before you do it. Right now, I assume since you drove to this bar and you were driving, you weren't drinking and intoxicated, right?
No, not while I was driving.
Good. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff, as indicated in the note, $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I wasn't asking for any more than, you know, I deserved.
I just think this is foolish. I think it's foolish that she was, you know, able to get this money that she really doesn't deserve.
Screen 41 won't return his vacuum. Bruce says it's not Ed's.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 535 on the calendar in the matter of Ish versus Green. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
I somehow gather this case is more than about just a vacuum cleaner, but I'm going to stick to what I see in your complaint and your answer. You two gentlemen live in the same rooming house, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been living there?
I've been there just a little over a year.
And you, sir?
About a year and a half.
And according to your complaint, Mr. Ish, you loaned the defendant a vacuum cleaner that you had been using because you were doing some janitorial work around the house. Is that right? Like
Well,
a
I picked up
part-time
messes
handyman.
with it. On the
Part-time
job.
handymans, and you get paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
You made a loan to the defendant of the vacuum cleaner, he wouldn't return it.
Correct.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Just a minute, that's your claim.
Mm-hmm.
He says he found the vacuum cleaner.
Correct.
No.
Okay, so now, Mr. Ish, tell me, sir, where you got this treasured vacuum cleaner.
I bought it at a swap meet, Your Honor.
When did you buy it at a swap meet?
Oh, about last fall sometime. About October, November. I've got a receipt for it.
Let me see the receipt.
All right. Do you want to see anything else?
No, right now I want to see the receipt, Mr. Ish.
No, okay.
Who's Pat Campbell?
He's the salesman at the swap meet.
Mr. Green, where'd this vacuum cleaner come from?
It was left abandoned outside our building originally.
When was that, sir?
That was sometime in September or October of last year.
And what happened with it?
Well, it sat outside for a day or so. Then it was inside for a day. It sat there completely untouched. I'd left it alone because I thought it belonged to somebody. It looked like
Where was it when it was inside the house?
It was in the common hallway down by the common restroom.
Okay, go ahead.
It sat there another day, and Mr. Ish came to my room, knocked on my door, asked me who the vacuum cleaner belonged to. At that time, I walked down the hall and I said, well, it's been out here this long. I'll show you who it belongs to. I picked it up myself, brought it back to my room, and I said, now it belongs to me.
Shh, shh, shh. Go ahead.
And at that point, he asked if it even worked. He didn't know if it even worked. So we plugged it in, checked it out, determined that it needed a belt.
Who determined it needed a belt?
We jointly determined that it needed a belt. It wasn't picking up properly.
So what happened?
Later on that day, Mr. Ish showed up back at my place with a belt to replace the broken one in the vacuum cleaner. He asked for the vacuum cleaner. I gave it to him so he could put the belt on. He took it upstairs, put the belt on, came downstairs, vacuumed a little bit on the rugs downstairs, and then brought it back to me and said, there we go. Now we have a new house vacuum cleaner. Nobody can bother me for my vacuum cleaner any longer. This is all yours now to, you know, hand out to people as they come to it. And I said, Mr. Ish, the vacuum belongs to me. I said, I'd be glad to let anybody borrow it, but it is not a house vacuum cleaner. It's my vacuum cleaner now.
So let me understand you, Mr. Green. According to your story, it was Mr. Ish who came to your room and said, who does this vacuum belong to?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you decided at that point that it belonged to you, because that's what you just said. You said,
Correct.
no, now it belongs to me.
Correct.
Well, I mean, at that point, if you had said to him, I don't know who it belongs to, he could have just as well said, it belongs to me, right?
Correct.
And he did go out and get the belt for the vacuum cleaner.
Yes, Your Honor.
So he invested in
It had
whatever
a
the
dirty bag, too, Your Honor.
I want you to be quiet. You started out by lying to me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You know that. You know you started out by lying to me with this baloney.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, yes, you did.
No, 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 no.
You want to know how I know you did, sir? You want to know how I know you did?
How do you know that?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. Because I've been around a long time.
Ah.
And when there's a bill that's this old, it's usually like this. And it's got a little schmutz on it, right? And it's been with other papers, right? And it's got a little stuff on it, right? It doesn't come out like you just pulled it out of a brand new book.
Well, then my manager's lying, too, then.
Listen to me, sir. I don't take statements from people that don't come here. Put it away. Good. If you lied, your manager can lie. All I'm telling you is...
We're all lying about this vacuum.
All I'm telling you is, so far, I believe that that's how the vacuum cleaner came into the house, but I disagree with the defendant that just because he says it's mine, makes it mine. So,
Your Honor,
this is a crocker who shot John, so you can return this to him. Now, quiet. I don't like when people try to get one over on me because it makes me think that you think that I'm stupid.
No,
And, sir,
would I think that?
Yes, sir, on your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you both still living in the rooming house?
Yes, ma'am.
Not for very long.
Just a... I want you to be quiet.
Okay.
And later today...
What day did you move out?
I notified him at the beginning of March, and on March 15th, I went up to the apartment, and he told me that I was to move out within half an hour, and if I was ever seen again on the property, that he'd kill me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ed Ish wants his vacuum cleaner back from Bruce Green. Bruce says it's not Ed's.
Now, the question is, what do we do with this vacuum cleaner? Because it honestly seems to me that if the vacuum cleaner was abandoned, Mr. Green, neither one of you had a paramount right to this machine. Neither one of you. He did invest in either a belt and a new bag or just the belt. You invested in Zippo, except
Your Honor, I did purchase a bag for it.
he initially made the vacuum cleaner work because
Correct.
according to your statement to me, sir, according to your statement, the vacuum wasn't picking up. And it couldn't pick up without a belt, which Mr. Ish furnished.
Correct.
Right? Are you both still living in the rooming house?
Yes, ma'am.
Not
now
for
you,
very long.
Just a... I want you to be quiet.
Okay.
Now the rooming house has a vacuum cleaner because the court is going to prepare an order that says that if either of you move out, the vacuum cleaner stays. You don't own it, and you don't own it. You may use it, you may use it, and everybody else who lives there may use it.
Oh, that's nice.
You can't take it when you leave, and you can't take it when you leave. Do you understand?
Your Honor.
Perfect. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Nobody claimed it. It sat there for 2 to 3 days without anybody coming up to claim property of it. So,
Well, I wish I'd have got my vacuum back, but I've been very good to this man, just like a brother to him. He is between classes and welfare when I put him to work for income on the residence. And he just commandeered my vacuum, just kept it and wouldn't return it.
And now the next case.
Parties on Hustad versus Story. Step forward, please.
20-year-old customer service rep Matt Hustad claims his former roommate, 20-year-old Kaleo Story, owes for non-payment of rent and a missing bike.
Mr. Hustad, the defendant, according to your papers, was a roommate of yours who you claim owes you money for rent and a bicycle.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So start at the beginning. When did he become your roommate?
He became my roommate at the beginning of 1998 in January. Actually, January 10th was the day.
How much rent was he supposed to pay?
Let's see, it was $200 a month, plus utilities, which would be the phone expense and groceries, all written in contract here. I have
Okay. And how long did he live there?
approximately 2 months, 2.5 months. 2.5 months exactly.
He moved in January 10th, according to you.
And
When
then
did he move out?
March 13th at 9:45 p.m. I gave him notice to leave after he was approached for the money.
So he lived there for 2 months.
Yes, approximately.
How much rent did he pay in the 2 months that he was there?
$150 cash, which I have a receipt for on the initial contract I wrote up.
So far, according to you, in the rent, he owes $250. Correct?
Yes, correct.
What else does he owe you for?
Well, he loaned my bike out in about March of last year to someone.
March of which year?
1997, Your Honor.
So a year ago.
Yes. I loaned him my bike a year ago.
Yes.
Okay, and he then loaned it to somebody else.
Yes.
And now the bike cannot be gotten a hold of.
And did you know this, sir, when you started to live together in January of '98?
Yes, I had been asking him repeatedly. He showed good faith that he was going to try to retrieve the bike for me. He showed good faith, and which in fact he did not. He bailed out on it. Excuse me. He bailed out on it at the end and said, "Well, I can't do anything about it. I don't know how to get a hold of him."
How much rent did you pay?
When I first moved in, I paid the $150. Then I paid $50 again at the end of February. Actually, I moved in at the beginning of February. I paid February's rent, and at the beginning of March, I paid another $150.
You paid February's rent in its entirety?
Yes.
So according to you, you paid all of your rent.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
What about March?
March, I paid $150 again, and I was supposed to pay $50 at the end of March.
Show me the receipt.
I never got a receipt, which is stupid on my part.
Let me see
But-
the receipt that...
Your Honor, I'd like to submit the rental agreement, the original signed.
I'd like to see it.
Here's the original. That basically outlines the original contract negotiated between the three of us. Kelly, my first witness here, was witness to him signing the contract as well as all the verbal and agreements throughout the living situation.
All right. Well, this says that you paid $150 the second week in February.
Right. That's when he paid his $150. That's virtually when I wrote the contract up and when he less the $150 that he had paid.
Which is when I moved in.
No, he moved in prior to that. Weeks prior to that.
At the beginning of February.
Who else is a roommate?
Me.
Step up. Your name?
Kelly Hansen.
Miss Hansen, the three of you were living together in the apartment?
That's correct.
Other than being roommates, is there any other relationship between the two of you?
Matt's my boyfriend, and me and Cleo and Matt have been friends for about a year now, as well as our other witness,
Good
Meg.
friends.
Really good friends. Actually, we were good friends. Cleo moved in January. He lived there January, February, and part of March.
Which day in January?
I think it was the 10th, January 10th. He lived there. We all agreed to split everything equally, you know, divided by 3.
Just want to know the date. Okay. What date did you move out?
I notified him at the beginning of March, and on March 15th, I went up to the apartment. He paged me to come over there, and he told me that I was to move out within half an hour, and if I was ever seen on the property
45
again,
minutes.
45 minutes.
Well,
and
why?
if I was ever seen on again on the property, that he'd kill me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Story, what you tell me, sir, doesn't make sense logically. Did your mother ever tell you the story about Pinocchio?
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Matt Hustad is suing former roommate Kaleo Story for rent and a borrowed bike. Kaleo says he didn't take the bike and he paid the rent.
Why did he tell you to move out?
He asked me to move out because I have no idea. I told him
Why
that
did
I
you tell
wanted
him to
move
move
out.
out?
He wasn't paying the money and I hated him up.
He paid the money.
Actually,
repeatedly,
Your Honor,
every week for loaning
the
money.
reason I told him at the beginning of the month that I wanted to move out because he was sitting there with his roommate smoking marijuana in the other room and doing nothing else with their time.
Yeah, so?
And I had gotten off, we had previously been involved in quite a few drugs, and I got off of everything, and when I was sitting in the room, in a smoke-filled room, it was just, it would get to me.
Mr. Story,
Yes, Your Honor.
that's an interesting story. But it doesn't sound logical to me, sir, that he would tell you to be out in 45 minutes unless he had been asking you for money that you owed him towards the expenses on the apartment
Right.
over a long period of time.
That was supposed to be paid by the end of
And
the
the
month.
bike.
And I was completely content with, the money was to be paid to him when I moved out at the end of the month.
No,
The
that's
30
not how it works, Your Honor.
Okay.
No, Mr.
Ever.
Story.
That was when it was in the contract, and I
Mr. Story,
didn't have it.
what kind of work were you doing?
Working at Starbucks?
He was not employed at this time, Your Honor.
For 3 months, he didn't have a job. We lended him money for laundry, for gas, for food, utilities,
gas,
groceries. We have bills and everything that we lend him money for.
Completely wrong.
He lived in my dorm. Actually, he's not even supposed to be living there. He's lived with 4 or 5 other people at Cal State
4 or
University
5
Long
other
Beach.
people.
At Cal State University Long Beach, he pays no rent. He hadn't had a job. He lived at the dorm for 3 months without getting a job. I mean, he didn't have money to pay, and as friends, we lent him the money, you know, up front because we thought
He
would
was
pay
my
back.
best friend
We
for
were
a long
all
time.
good friends.
Very
And
good friends.
Finally,
Okay.
we just got fed up. And we,
All right, now let's get to the bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me the story about the bicycle, Mr. Story.
Okay, at the previous apartment where I was living at, he brought his bicycle up there one day and locked it outside my front door. Gave me the combination to the lock, and one of our mutual friends came over one day, asked to borrow the bike. I told him that he could borrow the bike, but that he had to talk to Matt about it. He came up after that.
Just a second. Stop right there. Thank you. He brought his bike to where you were staying, locked it up with a combination lock, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And gave you the combination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then a friend of yours came to visit and said, could I borrow the bike?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you said, it's okay with me, but you'll have to ask
Yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Hustad.
That day.
Just a second.
Okay.
But after you told me you had to ask him, you gave him a combination to the lock.
Mm-hmm.
You gave him the combination to the lock.
No, I unlocked the bike outside and gave him the bike.
Gave this friend
Right.
the bike.
To borrow for the day. The bike was back that night and locked up, Your Honor. And I told him that he had to go to Matt after that and talk to him about using the bike.
Oh,
which
Your Honor,
he
I never
did.
saw the bike again. Never, ever saw the bike again.
Just a second. Mr. Story,
Yes, Your Honor.
did your mother ever tell you the story about Pinocchio?
Mm-hmm.
Because what you tell me, sir, doesn't make sense logically.
That's right.
How's that?
Does- Doesn't make sense logically. You gave him the bicycle at a time when you had no authority, according to you, to give him the bicycle. That was wrong.
I understand that.
That was wrong. And then you expect me to take a giant leap of faith and believe that he came back with the bicycle that night, locked it up, closed the lock, and then at some other time, somebody came and took the bike again.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
All right, what kind of bicycle was it?
It was a 1996 Giant Rincon mountain bike, off-road bike.
Is that the kind of bicycle it was?
Yes, Your Honor, it was.
And who purchased this bike?
I did, Your Honor.
And how much did you pay for it?
About $429 2 years ago.
Mr. Story, it's my responsibility as fact finder in a case to make a judgment as to who's telling the truth and who's not. And their case persuades me that you owe them a substantial amount of money. I believe that you paid them $150. He acknowledges that you paid $150. I believe that you paid him no other money. So you owe him minimally $250 in rent. I'm also giving him credit for $400 for the bike. That's $690. You're not supposed to take advantage of people, Mr. Story. And when you owe money, you're supposed to fess up and say, I owe it. So you're young enough to change your ways because, bottom line, the only thing that somebody has in their whole life is their reputation. That's the only thing that anybody can't take away from you. If you build up a bad reputation, that tends to follow you wherever you go. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $690.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm just thankful that I retrieved the money that I was out, and that's it.
We had good times.
Good memories.
Kind of sorry about it right now, but it happens.
I would have liked everything to worked out really good, but it just, things went the wrong way, and it's unfortunate it did.
Maybe he'll realize now that you just can't take advantage of people and keep owing people money, so maybe it'll stop now.
Worker Michael Mentor and his sister Barbara Lugo for keeping the clothes she bought for her granddaughter.
Order, all rise. Yeah, this is case number 504 on the calendar in the matter of Guerin versus Mentor Lugo. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Sir, ma'am, have a seat, please.
How many grandchildren do you have?
2.
This is your daughter?
Yes.
Are they both her children?
No.
Just one of them?
Yes.
And this is your soon-to-be former son-in-law?
Hopefully, yes.
And this is his sister?
Yes.
You're suing your son-in-law and his sister because you say that they won't return to you some clothing that you purchased for your granddaughter while your granddaughter was at least sometime in Mr. Mentor?
Correct.
Mr. Mentor's custody. Is that right?
Right.
Mrs. Guerin, I want to tell you that I think you're probably making the worst mistake in your life as a grandparent by bringing this lawsuit. The worst. I gather from a reading of your complaint that you had had difficulties at certain periods of time with your daughter. Is that right?
Right.
And you've had difficulties at certain periods of time with your son-in-law. Is that right?
Yes.
The only one thing that's constant is that they have a child together and you are that child's grandmother. And it would seem to me that if you were using your brains, you would do nothing to alienate either one of the parents of this grandchild of yours, irrespective of whether they're having an acrimonious divorce or not. Because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what life circumstance turns around and brings you. Your daughter looks like a healthy young woman, but if something happens to your daughter tomorrow, she gets hit by a bus, your granddaughter is going to be with her father.
I don't think so.
Oh, yes, she will.
I truly
you
don't
may not
believe
think
that.
so, but you may not think so, but that's the law. And unless there is some very special circumstance, if something happened to your daughter, in all probability, the child would be raised by her father. Stop looking at your papers, Mrs. Gurin. Try to appreciate what I'm saying to you. And I'm saying this to you because I have 4 grandchildren. And even though, and I have children who were in similar circumstances, and the one thing that I knew was I never wanted either one of them to be angry with me, because it was most important to me that I have reasonable relations with the parents of my grandchild. And if you don't see that, you're a very, very foolish woman. Now, you want to continue with this lawsuit? That's up to you. But I think that you're making a tragic mistake.
I definitely thought of that, about something happening to her, and I would have to naturally see Ashley through Michael. But the fact is that as of last night, he no longer has any custody of Ashley, besides the fact that I do want what rightfully I purchased, and I did not purchase for him. And I feel that I'm going to continue with this lawsuit.
Fine. When did you purchase the items for your granddaughter?
Well, first I'd like to show this to you.
Just tell me what it is.
It's a letter from Children and Family Services.
What does it have to do with clothes?
Because it shows that Jamie has full custody right now.
I don't care whether she has full custody.
And she goes to school from my home every single day.
Miss Gurin, it has nothing to do with this lawsuit, madam. You're not paying attention to me.
All right, here.
I asked you a specific question. Your daughter did not have custody for a period of time of this child.
She did too.
No. The child was with the father. That's why.
That is not true.
Miss Gurin.
Wait a sec. Oh, no, that's not true. He had 3 days is all he had with her.
Miss Gurin.
Are you telling me that I don't know what I'm saying?
Miss Gurin.
Yes.
Let me see the items and when you purchased them for your granddaughter.
The main items is this.
Can I see
And the
them?
rest is right here. And I don't understand why you say she didn't have custody. That's like unbelievable.
Okay. With whom was the child residing in November of 1998?
With Jamie and 3 days with him.
Okay, so 4 days a week the child was with
Jamie.
Your daughter, and 3 days a week the child was with her father.
Yeah.
And it was during those 3 days during the period of time that she was with the father, that you made purchases for your granddaughter and brought them to your son-in-law's home. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mr. Mentor, I only have a couple of questions for you, sir. Your mother-in-law brought over these items that she lists here. I don't plan on going through this laundry list of stuff. Items totaling $118 in November of 1998. She brought them to your house, and the clothes were bought to you to have them in your house while your daughter was there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, what is the present circumstance of the custody and/or visitation arrangement that you have? Does your daughter spend any time in your house?
Yes, she does. This right here, I have never seen it. My attorney has
When was the last time your daughter spent time at your house, sir?
Thursday.
This past
Actually,
Thursday?
Monday, because the mother didn't pick up the job.
Is there an ongoing custody battle here?
Absolutely. I'm shooting for full custody.
Just a second. There is an ongoing custody battle yesterday. I'm not getting involved in this at all.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It looks to me as if you got a daughter who's trouble.
No, she's
Oh, yes, she is. She's trouble. She's manipulating the system, and probably so is he. However, what they are doing is they're putting this child in the middle, and you are dumb enough to get caught there.
And later today,
I said, hey, don't touch my child. Do not ever put your hands on my child.
You punched him.
Yeah.
You're going to pay.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Hollywood costumer Judy Guerin is suing estranged son-in-law Michael Mentor and his sister Barbara Lugo for keeping her granddaughter's clothes. Michael says the clothes are for his daughter's visits, and he's countersuing Judy Guerin for wasting their time.
You two people better get your acts together, because if what I'm reading here is, you said that you want all visitation to stop.
No,
they said.
No,
He recommended.
she didn't say.
The man recommended that.
Just a second. Did somebody drag you to special services for children? Nobody dragged you there. You went there and you said that your child's behavior deteriorates when she returns from father's visit. And once threw a jar and hit mother in the eye. That's what you wrote here. Then the caseworker, who heard these facts, went inside, called a supervisor, and wrote down no visitation for father until the court makes orders after the detention hearing.
You don't even know what went on. You don't even let her tell us.
What I want to tell you, madam, is you shouldn't be in the middle of this. And all I'm asking is, your daughter does spend time with you?
Yes, she does.
Okay. And these clothes were brought at a time when your daughter was with you and brought to your house.
Correct.
Right?
They were not brought to his house. They were brought to my house, and he took them to put her to school in them. And I called him the next day because Jamie moved back, and I said, Michael, can I get the clothes for Ashley now? And suddenly he said, Barbara sent him to the cleaners, or this and that. I said, you know, he's taken enough from me. You know, I'm going broke because he left me with a family. I don't need, and won't pay child support. Look, and he just sits there and laughs.
I
mean, you may agree with him if you want, but
I don't agree with him, madam. What I'm telling you is that it looks to me as if you got a daughter who's trouble.
No, she's
not. Oh, yes, she is. She's trouble. She's manipulating the system, and probably so is he. However, what they are doing is they're putting this child in the middle, and you are dumb enough to get caught there. The clothes were on your granddaughter. When she comes to her father's house, the couple of $100 worth of clothes that you bought, she will wear, of course, because I doubt whether they're going to fit him, and they're certainly not going to fit his sister. And why you're suing the sister, I will never understand. Never. She's got a countersuit against you for abuse of process.
They were in her house.
They were in her house. You faxed her a letter, you want the clothes back, and she didn't give them back to you? Is that why you're suing her?
She refused. She said to me, they're Michael's clothes. You gave them to Mike. I mean, really sarcastic to me.
And she calls all the shots because I have a letter he wrote, Mike wrote to me, and if I had any questions...
You have a drug problem?
No, I don't.
Did you ever have a drug problem?
No.
Ever been in drug counseling?
No.
Ever taken a drug test?
Yes.
When?
Oh, I don't know the exact date.
How long ago? 6 months ago?
No.
5 months ago?
About a month ago.
About a month ago.
After Thanksgiving.
Who ordered the drug test?
The judge.
Did the judge order a hair follicle test?
No.
No, a random urine test?
No.
Wide random. Wide.
A wide random form of drug tests. If I were the judge in your case, I would order a hair follicle test, not random drug testing. Hair follicle test establishes whether you've used drugs in the past year and in what capacity. I would suggest that you tell that to your lawyer. Madam, you're making a big mistake. You showed me bills for $200. Your case is dismissed, that's all. Your counterclaim, I'm not even entertaining it, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I end up not being able to retire because I have to support his child and his wife. Not that I have to, but I am the grandmother, and I love my daughter very much. And of course, I love my darling granddaughter, even though she's part of him, but nevertheless, she's a wonderful little girl.
Her mother can't accept it. Her mother wanted me to stay with her daughter because of the problems that her daughter does have. And I just got sick of it and couldn't handle any more of her problems.
And now the next case.
All parties on Lambert versus Spencer. Step forward.
School groundskeeper Nelson Lambert is suing the father of a preschooler, 24-year-old salesman Charles Spencer, for beating him up. Charles says he saw Nelson grab his 5-year-old daughter's head.
She's very cute. This is your daughter, Mr. Spencer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Lambert, you are employed by a school system, is that right?
Almost 28 years.
And what kind of work do you do for them?
Maintenance work.
You've been at the same school?
All for about 19 years.
Your lawsuit is against the defendant is for assault.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that in October of last year, for no apparent reason, he came up to you and assaulted you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like you to tell me what happened, sir.
Okay, on the 23rd, 1998, approximately 1:30 p.m., I was reaching down my barrel to get equipment. When I lift my head up, Mr. Spencer was right in front, socking me in the face. I said, just a moment. And he kept on socking me. I did not fight him back, and no punches were thrown.
But he came up and assaulted you. He hit you in the face.
Yes, out of nowhere.
Did he say anything to you?
But stay away from his daughter. So in the course of our struggle, I fell. And he started kicking me, and he got down and he grabbed my neck and started choking me. So fortunately, At that time, the assistant principal came out on the playground, saw me on the ground, came running and pulled him away from me.
Had you ever seen Mr. Spencer before?
Yes, I have seen him before.
Where?
On the school ground, picking up his daughter. And I always tell his daughter hello. She's not the only one I usually tell hello. I tell all the kids because I love the kids. They're just like my own children.
Tell me about your injuries, sir.
Well, I have a picture of my injury right here.
I'd like to see them.
And police report as well as the doctor's report. Well, if the picture doesn't seem too severe, because I took him about four days later, Your Honor.
The scrape to your knees are where you fell?
Yes.
When he was assaulting you?
Yes.
And the black eye is what you have underneath the black eye?
It was worse than that. Like I said, I took those pictures about 4 days later.
Well, the diagnostic impression of the doctor who saw you indicates that you had a scalp contusion,
Yes.
facial contusions, you had a bilateral knee contusions and abrasions as a result of this attack. All right, Mr. Spencer, I'm going to give you an opportunity to explain your actions that day.
Yes, ma'am. Whatever the date was, I guess this is the correct date. I proceeded to take my daughter to school. As I dropped her off, I observed her from the gate. As she went in, she was kind of late, so she was running. This guy right here, Mr. Lambert, he grabs her abruptly on her head, causing her to, like, you know, kind of jerk there. So, you know, first reaction is, I want to go pound this guy, honestly. I must admit that. So, you know, I stayed, I meditated, tried to calm down. I called my daughter over and I asked her, hey, what's going on? She said, oh, he just wanted to say hello.
Okay. So at that point, your daughter had said to you, right, that he just came over and said hello to you. Is that right?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All your testosterone was going. This man didn't puff up. You can't even stand still. He didn't puff up in an aggressive manner towards you. You're full of baloney.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. School groundskeeper Nelson Lambert claims preschool father Charles Spencer attacked him. Charles says Nelson was bothering his daughter.
Even though your daughter said, he just said hello, you proceeded to go to the principal's office.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened when you got there?
When I got there, I told her exactly what happened. She said, okay, talked to me very nonchalantly and said, we'll look into it.
Okay, so when you went inside and spoke to the principal, I assume that you told the principal that he touched your daughter on the head, that he said hello to her.
Grabbed my daughter on the head.
No, didn't grab a child on the head, sir. He put his hands on her, and that irritated you.
Okay, no, but see, okay, she had a scratch on her head. Now, if it was just a point of touching her,
Mr. Spencer,
it wouldn't be a
Mr.
scratch on
Spencer,
her
you're
head.
full of baloney because you didn't put anything about scratch in your answer. All right, so you spoke to the principal and you were annoyed at the principal, I assume, sir, because the principal didn't take this whole thing very seriously. Is that right?
Yeah.
And when you walk out of the principal's office, you encounter Mr. Lambert outside. Is that right?
Correct.
And what did you do?
I walked over to the guy and I started to ask him, what's going on? Why are you touching my child? I want to know. Hey, who are you? Who is your child? So now he's getting kind of aggressive. So now I'm getting offended, thinking like, okay, now you're playing games with me. So as I walk up to him, I confront him, and now I'm getting kind of aggressive, and I'm talking to the guy. So he tightens up and puffs out at me, you know, and then he becomes to walk into my face. So now I'm feeling threatened in the position of where, okay, now this guy could actually do something to me. And at that point, he lays his hands on me. So from there, I continue to get physical.
You punched him?
Yeah.
You're going to pay. Because I want to tell you something. You have painted a very pretty picture of what you did that day. The truth of the matter is, I'm going to tell you the scenario because I read these papers. What these papers are is that you don't have enough to do with yourself, sir. Because you walked into school, you dropped your little girl off. Clearly, if he put his hand on her, either to stop her by the shoulder or he put her by the head and he said hello to her, he wasn't doing anything untoward. He wasn't. Maybe if he's smart in the future, he will just say hello and not put his hand on a child, even if it's not in an aggressive way. You had nothing else to do with your morning, so you walked right into the principal's office, and you got sort of blown off by the principal because the principal said, he didn't do anything wrong. What are you getting excited about? You walked outside and you were so furious. All your testosterone was going. This man didn't puff up. You can't even stand still. He didn't puff up in an aggressive manner towards you. You're full of baloney. Were you arrested for this?
No, I wasn't.
You should have been. You should have been. Why didn't you pursue this matter criminally, sir? He has no right to have that kind of aggressive attitude towards another.
His hands on my child. Now, hold up. Look at my daughter right here. Now, as a father, somebody putting this. What does he have to do with the curriculum at school?
I want to tell you something.
What does he have to do with it? If you're a janitor, clean the school. Don't touch the child.
Mr. Spencer.
That has nothing to do with him.
Mr. Spencer.
If I want to touch my child,
I'm speaking, and when I speak, you don't. You ever appear before a judge? You ever appear before a judge?
Yes, ma'am.
When you appear before a judge, you keep your mouth shut when the judge is talking.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
You ever arrested for assault?
No.
What was your last arrest for?
Domestic?
Domestic. Domestic what? Domestic is house cleaning. Domestic violence?
Domestic violence.
That's assault, sir. Domestic violence is assault.
But nothing happened.
Nothing happened, like nothing happened here. Mr. Spencer, I would suggest that if you don't want to spend a lot of time behind bars, you find yourself a good anger management class to go to. This man did nothing. You may not have liked the fact that he put his hand on your daughter. It was a benign sort of thing. He said hello to her. She wasn't frightened. She had spoken to him before. She knew who he was. You didn't like it. And what you did was, when you got blown off by the principal, you went outside and you pummeled him. It's going to cost you $5,000. I hope you have it.
Okay,
that's all.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I was in a state of shock. Because like I said, I haven't done anything wrong. I love those kids. They're just like my own children.
The guy shouldn't have put his hands on my daughter to begin with.
I just hope that the poor soul learn a lesson.